Hello guys, welcome to Proxima What Ifs. So in this video, we will see, what if Class 1A tortured Izuku to death but he respawned with Rimuru's evolution system? If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1. Patch Notes. Cold sheet under my back. Fluorescent hum. A toe tag tickles my ankle like a bad joke. The lights stutter. 1, 2, 3 beats out of rhythm, and the room breathes at the wrong time. I sit up and the zipper of the black bag sighs off my chest like it never wanted to be there. Who? The coroner spins, drops his clipboard, blinks once at me and twice at the clock. The second's hand jerks back, then forward, then lands somewhere it wasn't a moment ago. A voice in my head is calm water, respawn complete. Body integrity, strong, situation, public facing, recommend, Asian. Keep jokes to a minimum for the first 90 seconds. Noted, I say, and the coroner staggers against a cabinet. He fumbles for the wall phone. My palm finds the cord first, soft and simple. I don't rip it out. I press it back into the cradle and give him an open hand. I'm leaving, I tell him. You don't have to be in the story. He nods because sometimes people will grab any exit if you label it in big letters. I swing my legs off the slab, breathe in a cold room that smells like lemon cleaner and unasked questions, and reach for the nearest coat. It's gray and too big. It hides the bruises none of this equipment will admit to. Welcome back, Izuku, the voice says. We've got you. Call me Rafa. Rafa. The word fits. Thanks. We can workshop a cooler name later. Feels like you've got opinions already. Evidence-based commentary. A beat. We should go. We go. The hallway is a tunnel of tile and fluorescent snow. I move fast because I remember how slow it felt last time. Pinned in a circle of classmates and cameras and a script nobody wrote down but everyone knew. My feet make almost no sound. I push through a double door and into midnight. Musutafu at night is all neon and siren flavors. The hospital backs onto a service lane lined with dumpsters and a camera with a red eye that blinks too slow. It blinks the wrong time. The timestamp reads 23 hours 19 minutes and 41 seconds. Then 23 hours 19 minutes and 38 seconds. Then 23 hours 19 minutes and 42 seconds. The world hiccups and pretends it didn't. Log the desync, Rafa says, not worried, just curious. We're not alone in here. Something's editing around the edges. Story of my life. I take 3 steps into the alley. In the 4th, gravel crackles under somebody's boot. Don't move, a familiar voice snaps, too loud because he thinks loud is honest. Don't even breathe wrong. Katsuki lands hard at the mouth of the alley, palms smoking. Ida's engine hum hangs at my left, Uraraka floats above the fire escape, and Jiro and Siro are shadows farther back. Todoroki is a still line just beyond the light. He always sees more than he admits. My stomach does a small quiet thing and then settles. I don't let my face show it. Hey, I say like we're in a convenience store and I'm asking if the milk is fresh. You all doing a night run or did you miss me that much? Bakugo's teeth flash. Shut up. He steps closer, gauntlets humming, sweat beating into fuel. Iida moves with him, exact angles. Exact doctrine. Uraraka's fingers hover near the rail. Jiro's hand rests on her thigh like she's trying to keep her leg from shaking. Siro's tape rustles. You died, Bakugo says. It's not a question. It's a litany he can't keep inside. You died and now, what? You crawl out of a morgue like a... He doesn't finish. He's never liked words that don't hit. Not my favorite spa, I say. I tipped anyway. Rafa hums. 6 hostels adjacent. 5 friendly historical ties. 1 undecided. Drones inbound in 28 seconds. Bakugo closes the distance and that's the courtesy I was waiting for. He doesn't shoot from range. He wants my eyes on his when he hits me. He wants honesty even when he lies. He throws. Nitro blooms white-yellow. The heat rushes my skin. Like an old friend who makes bad decisions. I meet it instead of bracing. My left hand punches into the blast. My right turns. Heat climbs up my forearm and then it loses its grip like I've slicked it with oil. It whips up and over my shoulder, spins off my back and roars skyward in a bright flare that paints the bricks. I don't think. I step through the flash like it's a doorway, my feet finding purchase on air that shouldn't hold weight. It does for me. I slip sideways past the slap of energy and put my palm gentle on the hinge of Bakugo's gauntlet. Click. The locking pin drops into my fingers. Katsuki's eyes go wide for a heartbeat. His next blast coughs instead of screams. The shock in the alley isn't his, they all hear the sound of a script tearing. Jiro's head tilts slightly. She hears the rhythm of my breathing. How steady it is. Her mouth opens, then closes. She doesn't say my name. I'm grateful. Iida lunges. He has the kind of speed that turns the world into lines and corners. I turn with him, not away, and touch the cut of his shoulder with 2 fingers. Less contact, less harm. His engines choke like he sucked a plastic bag. He stumbles, skids, finds his footing again because Tenya Iida always will. He puts his fists up like a gentleman in a ring. Midoriya, he says, breath tight, stand down and surrender. We can. Not tonight. I slip back a half step, then forward. Not like this. Uraraka's voice comes from above, thin with altitude. Let us help you. That an open offer, or just for the cameras? It comes out before I can file it down. She flinches. I don't like the taste in my mouth. Temper, Rafa says, and there's a smile there. Also. 15 seconds. Drones. Zero snaps tape at my ankles. I go light and the tape slides underneath. It sticks to Bakugo's boot and he snarls like a cat that stepped in jam. Jiro flicks a jack from her ear and it pings off the brick behind me. It's not an attack, it's an announcement. I can hit you. I'm choosing not to yet. I nod once. The motion is small. Bakugo's next blast is clean, controlled, aimed at the wall next to me so it ricochets. He's seen me reroute the head on. He wants angles. Good. I want angles too. I put my foot down where the heat is thickest. The sole doesn't scorch. Thermal null step. Rafa murmurs, deeply pleased. Micro layer prints. Heat doesn't cling. You can ride it. You can erase it. I'm listening. Stop talking to your ghost. Bakugo snaps, and he's closer than he should be. He always is. I slide inside his guard and touch the strap holding his gauntlet and now he feels it. Not the take, the care. The way my fingers know where to land so no bones break. He bares his teeth in something that isn't exactly anger. Hit me. Don't need to. And I don't. The alley is a coil, ready to spring. When the high whine cuts over everything and drops a veil of blue on us. Commission drones. 6 of them. Boxy bodies, curved lenses, tiny rotors that try to sound harmless. The first beam lances down. Not a weapon. They don't want scorch marks on students. It's a grid, a net of light meant to be a prison that looks like gentle policy. I grab the nearest drone by the belly and yank. Its casing pops like a cheap toy. The firmware inside is an ugly knot. I press my thumb to a steel rib and the knot unravels. The data tastes like old coffee. My teeth ring. Rafa talk. It from me without pride and without apology. We can make their eyes lie to each other. Do it. The alley flickers for just a second. 2 timecodes on the wall camera, numbers arguing. The drones hesitate, believing they've already fired what they haven't. The net spills in the wrong place, catching empty air where I used to be. Iida sees me move and chooses not to chase. He squares to the drones instead, and that's the first real decision of the night that points toward a future with fewer corpses. He doesn't even know he made it. Uraraka drops to the pavement and reaches out. Izuku. Please, just stop and. I can't, I say. Not while they're writing the ending for me. She flinches again. Her eyes are wet and furious. I deserve it. I also don't have time to soften it tonight. Bakugo's jaw sets. You think I'm letting you run? I look at him. Really look. He's vibrating with more than nitro. Half hate, half fear, half that wild stupid love for the truth that made me follow him into so many bad decisions when we were kids. He wants me to punch him, bruise him, give him something he can label and shelve. I don't. I snap my wrist and toss his gauntlet pin into his palm. You dropped this. He catches it on instinct. His eyes cut to his hand and then back to me, slowly, like he's aware the moment matters and he hates that I'm making it with a gesture and not a hit. Sirens bloom at the far end of the lane. The drones recenter their polite grid. I sprint. Thermal null step is a whisper. Heat doesn't touch. Friction forgets my name. I run up the wall like it's AT. Rain pulling out of a station and I'm late. Ciro's tape snicks past my heel and slaps where I was. Bakugo blasts and I ride the slipstream, stash the momentum, bend it up the brick into a vault that lands me on the edge of the roof. Jiro's face tips up. The second we lock eyes, the alley noise goes soft. She hears something. I can tell by the way her head cocks. That terrifies her more than the drones or me. What do you hear? I ask. She swallows. Your heart. And, not angry. She looks confused and then guilty for the relief soaked into it. Not anything. Focused. I say, I'll be back. Promise. That's not a word she throws around. She almost chokes on it. Yes. She nods. Her hands stop shaking. You're making us promises now, Rafa murmurs. Approval rating. Reckless. Track it, I say. Call me out if I break it. You'll hate me if I do. I'll thank you while hating you. Complicated is fine. I turn. Todoroki hasn't moved the whole time. His eyes are on a point. 2 inches above my shoulder where the air still chimes from the heat I shoved skyward. He breathes in, long and deliberate. I'm listening, he says quietly. Not to me specifically, to the possibility that his next choice matters. Good, I say, you'll need to. Then I'm across the gap. The roof gravel crunches under me. The city opens, a lattice of windows and vents an old heat looking for somewhere to go. I give it a path. My feet catch what wants to burn and whisper it harmless. Thermal null step stitches a new map under me, a bright one nobody else can see. Behind me, the alley is an argument. You let him go. A voice barks. Commission, not student. The drones line up and pretend they aren't late. Bakugo doesn't look at them. He looks at the pin in his hand. He closes his fist hard enough to print it into his skin. Shut up, he says. I keep moving until sirens are texture and not sound. The big coat flaps around my knees. It smells like a doctor who eats mints to hide coffee. My body hums like a clean engine. Every sense is sharper, not in a painful way, in a tuned way. On the next roof over, a billboard blinks 3 frames in the wrong order. A line of streetlights hiccups. Somewhere, a dog barks at a corner that shouldn't have shadows. The world keeps revealing the stitches. We're not just fighting people, Rafa says, still not worried. There's a janitor in. The wall's scrubbing names off the whiteboard. Can we scrub back? Eventually. Not now. Now, we survive and learn and make friends with the right heat. Bakugo. He'll come when the air is thin and honest. Jiro. She already did. I grin without meaning to. The wind lifts the edge of the coat and slides cool across ribs that should remember pain. They don't. I filed that memory where it belongs. Somewhere I can look if I need to, not a trap I fall into when the room gets quiet. A helo chops the air a few blocks over. I tilt my face up and let the night put a hand on my head. What's first? I ask. We need a place to sleep that isn't monitored. We need clean clothes. We need to map who signed which papers and why the cameras stuttered. We need friends who can handle being wrong in public. Names. Rafa unrolls them like a deck of cards in my head. Not a list for revenge. A list for talking to without microphones. Momo's name lands near the top without surprise. There's AAR. Hit them to the way her brain meets a problem that I've always trusted. Todoroki's name is there too. He sits between worlds and turns, carefully, like a man testing a lock. Jiro's is already underlined B. Why the promise I made to a girl who can hear me stop pretending? Bakugo's name comes with hazard stripes and a smiley face drawn in a rush. I don't know if Rafa did that or I did. The hospital rooftop. P drops to a lower building with laundry lines strung like pride flags over a city that's always trying to be cleaner than it is. I step on the steel wire and it doesn't sing with my weight. I love that. I love that I can choose to be heavy when I want and not when I don't. On the far edge, a municipal camera blinks again. The corner of the frame holds 2 timecodes, both stamped like they belong. 23 hours 24 minutes and 2 seconds and 23 hours 23 minutes and 59 seconds. They argue for a second and then one wins, but I saw the fight. Who's pushing? I ask. Feels wrong for the commission. Too big, not local, Rafa agrees. Not mortal, strictly. Think auditor, not cop. Think patch, not law. We'll get there. For now, let's plant a flag. Where? UA, Rafa says immediately, and I almost laugh. You want to go home. I want to put T. He anchors somewhere nobody expects or everyone sees. A beat. Also, you've always run toward the place that hurt you most and turned it into something else. I'm pattern matching. Call me out again and we're breaking up. You can't afford the paperwork. I reach a hand under the coat and check the line of my ribs. Not counting. Not inventorying damage. Just reminding my brain that I'm here, that the skin under my nails is mine. That my hands do what I tell them. My knuckles are clean. Across the street, a ramen stall still glows. A man in a stained apron wipes the counter and looks up like he felt me look. We lock eyes for a heartbeat. He gives me the smallest nod. The kind of nod that says, I have cut noodles in a blackout and fed 10 men from one pot and I do not care who you've punched. As long as you don't bleed on the stools. I raise 2 fingers in a peace sign. I mean. Eat later, Rafa says. Fine, Mom. If I am Mom, you are grounded. Fair. I move. The city roots under me, over me, through me. Twice I hear the rotors of drones looking for someone who fits the wrong description. Twice I give them a heat print that's a meter to the left and a second behind. My chest doesn't heave. My legs don't shake. My head doesn't pound. I have space between thoughts. I pass a mirrored office window and the world on the other side isn't quite mine. A boy who looks like me keeps running but his coat is green, not gray. And the drones above him are the wrong model year. He vanishes when I blink. Do not touch that yet, Rafa says, soft. It's bait and it will cut. I wasn't going to. I was. I'm not now. I land on a fire stair and pad down to a back alley that opens into a quiet block with laundry shops and a small shrine pressed between a beauty salon and a store that sells phone cases. The shrine has a fox statue with a chipped ear. Someone taped the ear back on. Someone else lit incense and forgot it. The ash curls into a question mark. I fold into the shadow of the stairs and watch the street until the muscles in my back unknot. My breath stays steady. The coat warms up and begins to smell like me. A patrol car drifts by without bothering its siren. 2 office RS inside are arguing about whether to stop for karage on the way back. The radio on the dash burps and then speaks a time that doesn't exist. We should pick a base, Rafa says. Not a cave. A table, chairs, whiteboard, power, library. I say, after hours. Locks are a social construct. Now we're stealing late fees. I push away from the wall and start moving again. Quiet block, then busier. Then the street that used to be a shortcut to Happy. It turns out Happy didn't really care for shortcuts. The library has that smell all libraries have when they're honest. Paper, dust, the ghost of 1,000 pens grinding to a stop. I slide a window, borrow a latch, and step into air that hasn't been breathed in hours. A table near the back gives my hands something to do. I arrange chairs until the room makes sense. I find a dry erase marker and pull the cap with my teeth. The squeak is too loud in the quiet, but it feels good to write. I don't write revenge. I don't write forgiveness. I don't write fix it. I write 3 lines. Civilians first. The truth doesn't need a stage. Nobody gets to script me without getting burned. I circle the 3rd. Rafa makes a small apravan. G sound that vibrates the root of my skull like a cat purring in a helmet. Add a 4th, Rafa suggests. Promises matter. I add. 4 keep promises. Even the reckless ones. The marker squeaks and dies. I put it in the trash even though the trash isn't ours. I text nobody because I don't have a phone I trust. Instead I fold a blank checkout receipt around a pen and leave it in the 3rd row of TH. E2nd stack in the engineering section. Momo will find it if she follows the breadcrumb I left in that hallway today. If she does, she'll know which door to knock. The city shifts again, not the creak of buildings. Something under the floor plans. I lean back in the chair and stare up at the ceiling tiles like they might confess. We should move, Rafa says after a minute. Yeah, I stand, pull the gray coat close. Tuck the whiteboard back the way I found it even though the marker bleeds my handwriting like a watermark only I can see. Outside, the clock on the library facade flips from 0:03 to 0:01 and then to 0:04. I raise an eyebrow a little too high for anyone who's not there to judge me. Glitch, I say. Audit, Rafa says. And an impatient one. Can I leave a message? You just did. I hop the rail, ride heat up a brick face like a sparrow who thinks gravity is cute, and let Musudafu fold me into its pockets. I build a route to UA that breaks the obvious lines. The S. Chul sleeps with one eye open and 1,000 cameras dreaming in a language I'm beginning to taste. I stop on a rooftop that can see the main gate from 2 blocks out. The letters on the gate aren't glowing like they do on festival days. They're just metal and a promise adults made to kids and sometimes kept. My chest lifts, slow. My hands find the edge of the roof. My fingers curl and uncurl. My heartbeat stays steady under Jiro's future. Across the way, a streetlight flickers. The timestamp on its maintenance panel brags a time that hasn't happened yet. The billboard behind me brags about a soda I'll never drink. The coroner probably went home and told his boyfriend a story about a boy who apologized while stealing a coat. Anchor's not here yet, Rafa says. But it will be. We'll mock. It's so hard to cut they'll get bored first. Sounds like a plan, I say. It is. Also, eat. You'll love yourself more if you do. Ramen guy. Ramen guy. I head back the way I came because pride is expensive and noodles are cheap. On the way, I pass that office window again, and this time the other me in the green coat pauses too. He lifts his hand. He almost waves. Then the mirror throws static like a bad channel. And the boy who isn't me is gone. I don't touch the glass. I adjust my coat. I smile at my reflection like I mean it, because I will. The ramen stall neon buzzes friendly. The man with the apron doesn't blink when I slide onto the stool. He looks at my face, at my hands, at the coat that doesn't fit, and puts a bowl down without asking. You look like a man who ran hard, he says. Trying out a new step. I say, how's it fit? Like it's mine. He nods. Good. I eat while the city chews its own worries. The broth is heavy and clean. The noodles stick to my chopsticks like they don't want to leave. The first bite is a conversation between my stomach and a god who believes in warmth. I close my eyes for 2 seconds and let the heat fill places I didn't know were empty. A police car cruises past at 23 when it should go 25. The radio inside says the wrong minute again. I don't correct it. When the bowl is a circle of gold at the bottom, I slide it back. The man nods like we finished a deal without words. I leave money I didn't borrow first. He doesn't count it. He taps the counter once with knuckles that look like they used to be fists and now are spoons. Outside, the night has stretched. The alley cameras blink in sync for a whole 10 seconds. That's nice. The air tastes like a storm without rain. I step into the dark, lighter than I came, and leave the steam of the ramen behind like a blessing. The city doesn't know me yet. It will. I run. Thermal null step engaged, Rafa says, amused. Try not to fall in love with it too hard. No promises, I say. And that's a lie I know I'll have to correct. We cut east, then north, then high. Somewhere behind us, an alley camera plays 2 truths and a lie. Somewhere ahead, a school waits with 1,000 locks. Somewhere above, somebody with a ledger keeps erasing me and missing by a millimeter. I give them more surface area to miss. And the night carries me like it's glad I asked. Chapter 1 end. Chapter 2. The commission smiles with its teeth. I walk into the Hero Public Safety Commission wearing someone else's face and acting like I belong. That's half the trick. Most days. Move like the room expected you 5 minutes ago. The lobby eats people and spits them out with badges. Glass, flags, a wall of framed, thank you for your service, smiles that don't reach eyes. A scanner kisses my wrist and prints temp visitor 302 like we're on a first name basis. Badge reads clean, Rafa says. Voice does not. Yours says. Muscle memory and trouble. I can do polite. You can do convincing. Aim for harmless. I roll my shoulders down and put a tiny slouch into my spine. The kind interns have at 4:30. The woman at the security podium doesn't even blink when I pass. She's coloring in a phone game with a stylus while nodding at a man in a suit who's nodding at a man with sunglasses who's nodding at the world. Nodding is a language here. An overhead monitor runs the hearing livestream with captions 2 seconds behind. A caption stutters and retypes the same word 3 ways before picking one. Log that, I murmur. Logged. Audit bleed at 5%. The elevator has mirrors that make you feel employed. I practice a smile that says I've never bled in a stairwell. The doors open onto a hall of beige and expensive coffee. I ditch the smile before it cracks my face. Conference 4 smells like hairspray and microphones. Inside. A raised dais, Chairwoman Akina Saionji at center. Perfect posture, hair pinned like a signature. Pros line the side walls like trophies. Cameras blink. Every question is clean enough to eat off of. I find a seat in the second row. My borrowed face is 23 and forgettable, with a mole I gave myself to be charming if needed. The staffers around me have soft shoes and sharper eyes. My hands stay still on a legal pad I lifted from a copier room 2 floors down. Saionji smiles with all her th when a senator from somewhere asks if UA has retained control of its more spirited students. We don't control heroes, she says. We empower them. The smile tightens at the edges. We also make hard calls when power runs wild. The audience does that muffled throat noise that means strong, brave, leadership, and also I'd like to keep my job, please. A man at the end of my row marks a box on a form that doesn't have boxes. He draws one and checks it anyway. Rafa tickles my inner ear. 2 hall cams desensed by 1.7 seconds. They're reconciling to the wrong clock. Which clock is right? Not theirs. Saionji keeps the room by never letting her heartbeat show in her throat. She never drinks water on camera. She never looks down at notes. She never touches her face. A pro. Also a problem. During a recess, everyone stands like a wave. The chairs make their collective sigh. Saionji steps away from the dais and takes the long corridor toward the side lounge, trailed by an aide with a folder thicker than truth. I move with the pack, then out of it, then beside a pillar wrapped in a potted plant that wishes it were outside. A guard shifts. He studies my badge, then my nose, then shrugs. Harmless interns don't cause paperwork. 3, 2, Rafa counts, and the hallway cameras lose track of time. Just for a blink. Enough. I peel off into the lounge ahead of Saionji, slide behind a decorative screen, and stick a single foil sticker under the entry sensor. Momo taught the class how to spoof an RFID door for a scavenger hunt once. I was her Vanna White, pointing at the whiteboard. I remember the angle of her wrist when she drew the circuit. Funny what sticks. Saionji enters. The door brushes the sticker. For 12 seconds, every mic within 10 meters thinks it's on lunch break. I step out from behind the screen like we planned this together. Her eyes do not widen. Respect. Who signed the purge? I ask, and I aim the question like a card trick. Plain voice. No bite, no wind-up. The aide blanches. Saionji's chin angles 2 degrees. Her gaze skims my badge. I can see the math. Intern with audacity or bait with canines. She opts for humor first. Which purge? She says lightly. The one where kids killed a kid, I say, just as light. The one you're pretending was a training exercise with unfortunate outcomes. She doesn't look at the cameras. She doesn't look at the door. She looks at me like a stack of paper she already skimmed. That's a very creative description for a non-event. Creative is what you call the truth when you're not ready to fold to it. The aide's mouth opens. Saionji lifts a finger. The aide's mouth closes. She takes 1 step closer, the click of her shoe measured for audio. What do you want? I don't lower my voice. A name. Silence could power the building for an hour. Her smile goes smaller, honest for a blink. Not mine. Rafa hums, pleased. Microtremor confirms. Covering, not authorizing. She angles her body, and for the first and last time today, looks at the ceiling, where the mics would be, if they were alive. You're crossing a line, Mr. Temp Visitor 302, I say, because a joke lets her cut the tension without bleeding. She chooses not to. The door opens. A deputy commissioner in a suit built to hide sweat walks into a conversation he doesn't understand and decides he should own it. He plants himself too squarely. Ma'am, your next block. Saionji doesn't look away from me when she says, Mr. Ogiwara, how did the authorization memo end up in the disciplinary queue? He flinches like a man touched by God and static. The memo, he swallows. I wasn't told it was an authorization, Chairwoman. It came stamped, so I routed it to discipline with the impression. Stamped by whom? I ask. Friendly, like I came to refill the candy bowl. His mouth flaps. Names try to climb out and get crushed at the gates of his teeth. He stalls with bureaucracy. The system. I mimic his exact cadence back at him. The system. He nods, grateful, then realizes I gave him nothing. His face curdles. Rafa leans in. We're sitting on workable patterns. Voice print, breath timing, consonant pressure. Try a loop. I match his throat shape. Mr. Ogiwara, I say, as if I'm him talking to me. It's close. Not perfect. I adjust lip spread, let my tongue slap a hair too hard on the G. Ogiwara, I try again. Better. I mirror his little inhale before nouns. Stamped by whom? He answers without meaning to. Legal. The word skids out, panicked. Legal stamped. It because legal has the auto pens for national emergencies, and the director wasn't. Sanji's hand opens and the air changes. Permission or dismissal? I can't tell. Ogiwara clamps his mouth shut like he heard a gun. Timestamps on the hallway monitors slide sideways. A screen in the corner reports 13 hours 6 minutes and 11 seconds, then 13 hours 4 minutes and 3 seconds, then 13 hours 6 minutes and 13 seconds like it didn't just confess a crime in numbers. The coffee machine down the hall grinds beans and coughs grounds like it swallowed a screw. Your microphones are on break, I tell Sanji. You've got another 5 seconds. You're playing at a very dangerous table, she says. And her voice is both warning and invitation. Good thing I learned to count. I nod, then step backward toward the pillar. The sticker under the sensor times out. The microphones remember their jobs. Thanks for the chat. I leave before anyone decides they need a search warrant for my face. Echo profile building, Rafa says when we hit the hall. You've got his vowels. 2 more iterations and you'll have his throat. Give me Sanji's press voice too. You already do. She weapon Izesh calm. You weaponize honesty. Blend. You'll make a cyclone. I'm flattered. You're impossible. Also flattered. I slip into a service corridor while people blink at clocks that don't behave. The corridor is narrower than policy wants, wide enough for me. Pip. Sing like the building has indigestion. A janitor with a cart looks up and offers me a nod that's old world polite. I nod back with the exact economy of someone who respects a person who knows how to make a floor shine. 2 floors down, I rip a spare lanyard from a hook, stencil a barcode with a pen and a steady hand, and join a stream of staffers headed toward the record's wing. The badge red, blinks green like mistakes are free today. I slip into a room full of cold files and warm printers. Ogiwara's office has glass walls and a view of traffic that never stops. It's empty. Good. His inbox is a rockslide. Better. I step behind his desk long enough to slide a single connector into the port beneath his keyboard. Not a hack. An echo. Momo's trick. It tells the computer everything's no. RMAL while recording the split second where it isn't. Rafa pings. We're in. Echo channel armed. Get the man talking to himself. Footsteps. Ogiwara returns, flanked by a woman from legal whose ID tag carries a sliver of power like a razor under a napkin. I lean against the copier 2 doors down and pretend to be an overcaffeinated intern looking for toner. They enter. The door hisses shut. The glass mutes, but not enough. I tilt my head. Jiro would get this clean at 5 meters. I get it dirty at 2. Why would you root an authorization to discipline? Legal hisses. Do you understand what that word means? Don't talk to me about words, Ogiwara says, and the shaking makes syllables clunk together. You stamped it. This is on you. I stamped a general exigency memo, she says through teeth. Operations hijacked it. I didn't authorize students. Say that louder, Ogiwara snaps. Tell the chairwoman. Tell the cameras. Cameras aren't in here, she says, and they both look at the corner where a camera once was. The mount is empty. Ogiwara swallows. I take 2 steps closer, casual as hunger. Rafa slides a dial in my head. My throat tightens, loosens, reshapes. When I speak, the voice is Ogiwara's not quite voice, close enough to make his bones remember their own sound. Who told you it was exigency? I ask Ogiwara, as if it's him asking his own mirror, as if he has to answer to the only man he fears, himself. He does. Ops. He spits. Ops stamped the routing. Ops said the director was off-grid and it had to go. Legal's mouth opens with a hiss. You just admitted. Everyone knew. He fires back. We all knew the temperature. We didn't say the word. We never say the word, because then we own it. The echo channel hums. Rafa makes the noise satisfied instruments make. Confession secured. Quote, the woman from Legal exhales a war she's been holding. We can split this hair in public. Exigency means we were trying to save lives. No one has to say purge if no one writes it. I step out of the hall and into his doorway like I'm lost. Hey, sorry, does anyone know where I can find the toner? Legal startles. Ogiwara flattens a folder with his palm like he can kill its contents. Supplies 2 doors down, he grinds. Who are you? Temp visitor, I say, tapping my badge. 302. I smile just enough for my eyes to crinkle, bless his day with stupidity. And leave before anyone notices the exact pitch of my goodbye matched his hello. I don't run. I just move like the building forgot to notice me. The elevator says floor 7, then floor 6, then floor 7 again. A second hand on a conference clock performs a little moonwalk and pretends nobody saw. Sub-level exit, Rafa recommends. Parking ramp. Cameras are sleepy. For once, me and cameras agree. We're gone in a minute, back into air that belongs to the city and not a committee. I cut across a plaza where pigeons judge you for not having bread. A kid on a bench plays a rhythm game without looking. He never misses. The phone screen reports the wrong time between songs. A message waits where I left it. In the library, 3rd row, 2nd stack, engineering. Paper wrapped around a pen. Gone now. Good. Then the ping. A light knock on the staff door at the back, soft and precise. I let her knock twice more. I like the cadence. When I crack the door, Momo is there. In black slacks and a blouse that could attend a hearing or change a tire. She holds the pen with 2 fingers like she found a clue and is deciding if it should live. You made the breadcrumb obvious, she says. You followed it anyway. She breathes out. Obviously. We slide into the supply room at the back, where someone organized chaos into rows of neatly labeled bins and then taped a stick. KY note over it that says please return to proper place. There's a whiteboard on wheels. There's a table just big enough for 2 people who trust each other not to reach for the same marker at the wrong time. She drops her bag. I push the board. We fall into it like we're mid-conversation, because we always fall into it like that. I need a dead zone, I say. 12 seconds minimum, enough for microphones to forget their job without anyone noticing the forgetting. RFID nudge. She's already sketching, but that only buys you the door. For mics, if we assume table mics on directional beams and ceiling mics to catch spill. We assume nothing. We map what we can't see. Their ceiling tiles are lying. She smiles despite herself. Good. Paranoia looks healthy on you. Compliment accepted. Her marker squeaks into equations that look like dance steps. Okay, if we interfere with the auto gain control at the right moment, the system will think the room went into a low hum environment and normalize downward. A soft notch. No alarms. For 12 seconds if we spoof the ambient noise pattern to a break profile, I finish. I already tagged the door. Mike's went to lunch. She blinks. Midoriya. I shrug an apology I'm not sorry about. I needed to ask a question. What did you get? Not hers, I say. Legal stamped exigency. Ops routed to discipline. Director. Off-grid. Deputy confessed to himself. Her eyes spark like a Bunsen burner. Do you have proof? I tap the side of my head. Echo channel. I'll get the file out clean. Her mouth shapes echo like she's tasting a word she'll use later. You used his voice. Close enough to make his brain slip. I try it again and shift vowels on the fly. Ogiwara leaks out of my throat. Momo's eyebrows shoot up. S. He flicks the marker at me like that's illegal. It probably is. Don't do that at me, she says, covering an involuntary shiver with a scowl. Do. Actually, yes, do it. We can jump their switchboard later if needed. I'm not pranking reception. It's not a prank if the fate of the city is on the line. She chews the end of the marker cap, drops it, grimaces like she can taste plastic a month away, then keeps writing. We'll need a carrier. A legal one. Library printer. She gives me a look like, you did not, and then a look like, of course you did. She draws a small circuit. A pocket-sized device that would sit under a desk and hum the room into a nap for 12 seconds whenever someone touched a stapler. Too cute, I say. But I like it. We can do ugly if you prefer. I prefer effective. She kneels to rummage through a bin labeled "Don't remove without signing" and removes 3 things without signing: a pack of ferrite beads, a spool of magnet wire, and a cheap radio board used for school science fairs. She slides them over. Our hands touch, just a brush. It's nothing. It's everything. I hold while she whines. She solders while I twist. We don't talk for a minute. Because the talking is already happening in the way our shoulders line up at the table. So, she says eventually. You're okay. Define okay. Breathing, she says. Snarky. Upgraded. She flicks a glance. Stop making jokes when I'm trying not to cry. I pull a strip of tape, smooth it on the board, and press the circuit down. No crying in the supply room. That's how rumors start. Her mouth does the thing where it wants to smile and refuses out of principle. You're insufferable. I'm here. She nods, once. Understanding. Doors open and we step through without squeezing our shoulders. Test. I ask. Test, she says. We pocket the widget, slip out the back door, and drift through stacks into the main floor. The librarian is counting book carts with the focus of a bomb tech. We aim past her to the small reading area where the city keeps a public terminal that was built in 2011 and has the patience of a saint. I palm the widget against the underside of the table and brush a stapler someone left there. The air goes flat. The hum in the ceiling dies like someone put a pillow over it. 10 seconds. 11. 12. The old clock on the wall skips the 02 and shows 03 twice. The librarian looks up, frowns, then shakes it off like a fly buzzed her ear. The world doesn't scream. Momo exhales a laugh that sounds like the word science whispered in a cathedral. Perfect, she says. 12.6, Rafa reports. You and your friend are very rude to microphones. Tell Rafa she's welcome, Momo says, deadpan. She heard you, I say. Of course she did. She lands gentle where some people would land it. I notice. My chest does a thing it has time to do now. We pack up and drift back into the supply room to recalc the timing from 12.6 to 12.1 because we're greedy about precision. When we step out again, the library time stamp says 1741. My phone that isn't mine says 1739. The street outside says dusk, then not. Then dusk again when a cloud decides to be dramatic twice. Momo's eyes track the light shift. Her brain maps it. You're not the only anomaly in town. I noticed. Care to share? Later. She gives me a look. I give her a look back. The supply closet light flickers on a fixed rhythm that doesn't match the fixture's age. We ignore it on purpose. Okay, she says briskly, like she put hat curiosity on a shelf and strung a ribbon through it for retrieval. Your echo file. Getting it out of the commission without tripping a wire. Dead drop, I say. But not a physical one. I want it to deliver itself at the exact wrong right moment. Public hearing. Not yet, I say. Use it to make a door open. I need to get into ops. She nods. Todoroki can get you there. He's stumbling. G toward. No, like a man learning to tie his shoes. You trust him. I trust his hate for the commission's theater more than I trust mine. That may be enough. I want to say I'm sorry about a dread things I didn't do and did anyway by being there. I say, thank you, instead. For building a toy, she says. For showing up where the room had an empty chair, I say. That stops her for half a breath. She swallows, blinks away the prick at the edge of her lashes, and then pretends she didn't. Don't make me cry in a supply room, Midoriya, she says again, but softer. I mean it. I grin to break the edge. We need more ferrite beads. She rolls her eyes and flips me the spare marker. You need a shower, ramen boy. Already had ramen, I say. Highly recommend. Then you need sleep. Working on it. The building's old radiator breathes once like a dragon stuck in a pipe. The clock over the reference desk coughs up a minute and swallows it. The world's editor flexes its fingers and files a corner. See that? Momo says. Always. I say. We put the whiteboard back with the marker cap pushed on all the way. She picks up her bag and then hesitates, like a decision won. TS to step out of her mouth and ask to be held. Instead, she reaches and squeezes my wrist once. Her fingers are cool, her palm is warmer than the room. Promise me something, she says. Dangerous to ask me that. Promise anyway. Okay. Don't make me build a resurrection machine, she says. I will. I don't want to. Deal, I say. I'll handle the living. Her mouth lifts at the corner. Good. Outside, a bus door opens and releases a chorus of teenage laughter that doesn't know it's singing on a slightly wrong beat. The sky leans toward night, then brightens a notch like a dim. Our switch got curious and decided to improvise. My phone that isn't mine rolls from 1748 to 1747 and then shrugs and chooses 1749 to avoid a fight. Your friend with the ledger's getting impatient, Momo says. Forehead creasing as she stares at a street lamp doing a tiny time dance. We'll meet him, I say. Later. With better shoes. I'll bring a whiteboard, she says. I'll bring noodles. Deal. We ghost out of the library through the back way. The alley tastes like rain that isn't here. At the corner, she peels left for a student council thing we both know she'll use as cover to M. AP3 buildings and an internal network. I head right toward a bridge where Wind writes long essays in old paint. Midoriya, she calls, and I stop without turning. Yeah, your voice thing. She wiggles fingers at her throat. Impressive. Scary. Working name is impersonate Echo, I say, trying it out loud. It fits like a tool you don't brag about but keep in reach. Don't do it to me unless I ask, she says. Okay. She nods once, accepting the boundary like a gift and a rule. Then she's gone, smooth as a clean thought. I lean on the bridge rail, letting the city breathe through my ribs. A drone passes overhead pretending it's on patrol for potholes. It lingers on me for half a second too long, then moves because my badge says this is above its pay grade. Rafa settles into my spine. Good day's work. You didn't get arrested. Acquired a door opener. Upgraded mimicry to version 0.7. Version names now. You pay extra for the vowels. Do I get a changelog? I am. Personate Echo unlocked through repeated use, she intones in a dry AI voice that makes me snort. Features. Short window voice mirroring with cadence match, requires proximity or clear audio sample. Works best when target already suspects themselves. Great. We built a conscience trap. You built a mirror. Don't blame the glass. The river below is black with a stripe of orange, and for one breath it runs backward. People on the walkway keep walking like they didn't just violate physics. Subplot note, Rafa says. Security feeds across the district report desync clusters. Somebody is sweeping for you and finding their own footprints. Let them, I say. I left a few. I text Todoroki with the number Bakugo gave me. The one that isn't in any phone book and belongs to neither of them and somehow both. A pigeon watches me like it has clearance. The message is short. Ops needs air. Tonight. 3 dots. They blink, disappear, blink again. Yes. Then. Which entrance? I drop a pin. That is not a location but a rhythm. 3 taps, pause, 2 taps. He'll feel dumb until he realizes doors are social. He sends back a single word that tastes like humor trying out its legs. Cute. I smile without my face cracking. Rafa hums a bar of something that could be a lullaby or a warning. The commission building across the river switches on a new row of lights and forgets to turn on the ones next to them. A window in the middle blinks Morse by accident. I translate without meaning to. It doesn't mean anything, and I refuse to make it. Eat, Rafa says again, like a mother who is also an engineer. Then we go make ops regret storing anything next to anything. Copy, I say. How's our anchor? Not born yet. UA hums like a lullaby trying to be a fortress. If you want the anchor there, you'll have to teach it your heart. That's dramatic. It's true. I hate it. You love it. I do. I hate how true it is that I do. A bus hisses to a stop. A kid in a red hoodie gets off, takes 2 steps. Then darts back to tell the driver he dropped his wallet, and the driver thanks him with a look you only see at midnight. The world glitches again. The gratitude stays. I mark that. That's what we keep. I slap the bridge rail once, set my shoulders, and head into the part of town where Ops keeps the doors nobody opens unless an adult is standing behind them. I am very tired of that rule. On the way, a city camera above a bodega blinks 2 timecodes again, 18 hours 12 minutes and 6 seconds and 18 hours 12 minutes and 3 seconds. They argue. I take a picture with my eye and don't blink until they pick a side. Choose faster, I tell the sky. We've got work. The sky does not answer. It rarely does until you kick it. I cut through an alley where a cat holds court over a dumpster like a tiny emperor. The emperor's guard is a line of plastic bags. My footsteps don't echo. Somebody else's does. I stop. The echo stops late. I smile into the dark like I have a blade between my teeth. Come on, I say softly. Let's see what your patch notes look like up close. The knight, obliging, rearranges its furniture to make space for a hunt. Chapter 2 End. Chapter 3. Gravity doesn't lie. The alert high. TS my ear like a coin flicked against a glass. Downtown gas main breach. Evacuate eastbound blocks JL. The city pushes the message in official blue, then copies it in cheap white a second later like someone faked the forward. Both include a street map that's almost, not quite, the right shape. Trap, Rafa says. No drama. Just data. Real civilians. Real. 32 inside the kill box, plus a bus driver who refuses to leave his route. Then we go. The bridge breathes wine through its ribs as I jump the rail and ride heat down the span. The world under me slides smooth because I tell it to. Thermal null step takes the bite out of the air. The city is a set of handholds it didn't know it had. Musutafu Center is a bowl of glass and food carts and a tangle of utility lines. People are already moving the way people move when the sirens say left and the officers say right and the loudest voice wins. A stand selling sweet potatoes empties in seconds. A woman wheeling a caged parrot. She argues with a man who insists on paying for his lottery ticket like honor will save his life. I drop onto a rooftop sign, run the rim, and take the wall down to the street with 3 touches. The map in my head flips. The smell of gas is pretend, the pressure in the pipes isn't. But the ground is tired. The ground wants to crack because somebody told it to. Uraraka is on the far side of the intersection on a fire escape. Phone to her ear, eyes bright and wide. She sees me and swallows something sharp. Izuku, she calls. It catches in her throat. You came. Your evac route was flawed, I say. Because saying I'm glad you're alive isn't useful right now. She flinches anyway. Please, just get them out. I'm already moving. Commission vans pack the south curb like new teeth. Forms carve lanes with their arms and their authority. A bored-looking operator stands next to a bulky, venting unit, squatting over the manhole like a metal tick. The unit's lights blink a rhythm that pretends it's fixed. It isn't. Rafa pings hard. Device is not a vent. It's a cutter. When it fires, it'll drop the street 4 inches and then 8 more. Not lethal if nobody's on it. Lethal if everyone's on it. I finish. Cute. The first pop isn't sound. It's a pressure bow wave your body hears before your ears. The asphalt spiders. Pedestrians scream, surge, lock, scatter. A stroller. Wheels toward a crack that opens like a laugh. I go. I hit the ground on a knee and a palm and push. Heat hums under my hand. I pull it into a line like taffy and flick it up. The line cools fast. Air compresses where it shouldn't. The dust rising from the crack spins into a sheet for half a heartbeat. Rafa goes very interested. Test it. Keep your step light. Borrow momentum instead of making it. I put one foot onto dust that should be a suggestion and it holds. Not like stone. Like a trampoline that knows your weight better than you do. I shift, feel the sheet flex, feed it a little heat, bend it against the slumping curb. A kid reaches helplessly for the stroller wheel. I take 2 steps on the air that has decided to be a floor, don't think, grab the handle, and backpedal up a sty. Case of nothing I'm building in front of me faster than it should exist. The stroller noses up the last floating rung and onto solid concrete. The mother's hands grab and wrench. She sobs. She nods like I just returned a planet. Go east, I tell them, and she goes without asking why I can stand where her brain still says empty. Surface tension at micro scale, Rafa whispers, half to herself. UST particles behave under pressure and heat the way crowds do under leadership. They organize if you give them a rhythm. You're comparing physics to group dynamics during a crisis. You're the one stepping on it. The second pop hits. A section of road collapses in a square that somehow missed every commission boot by inches. Coincidence is a terrible liar. I sprint, throw my palm down, and shape another step out of air and grit. I arch a ramp over a gap and a man carrying a cello case runs across it, laugh crying, the case thudding against his thigh like a dog that wants down. Under the ramp, asphalt shifts in chunks like puzzle pieces bored with their neighbors. Everyone back. An officer yells, waving his arms like faith. The crowd obeys and then doesn't, because fear doesn't read signal flags well. A girl in a yellow raincoat stands in the middle of the crosswalk like a figure in a painting, paralyzed by the way the lines on the pavement broke their promise to be straight forever. I hold the ramp, step sideways, and build a platform under her sneakers. She flinches when the world firms under her feet. I crouch, palms up. Come on, toward me. Her eyes cut to a stain on my borrowed coat, then to my hands. She hops. I catch her like I've been catching her my whole life and pass her to a man with the haircut of a public defender who thanks me in a voice like a dropped glass. We can do more than patches. Rafa says. Propose. Build a lattice. Anchor it to moving air and gravity waves from local quirk usage. Make a web out of motion. Propose accepted. I say, Becca. Use the alternative as doing this one tile at a time until someone falls. We pull in pressure gradients from the cutter's fake vent. We catch the heat bleeding out of a kebab grill abandoned mid-skewer. We borrow the tug of Uraraka's field when she yanks a streetlight free to keep it from crushing a sedan. The pieces listen when the right notes hit. The first lattice blooms under my feet, hexagons of denser air braced with dust lines. A honeycomb you can barely see until someone steps on it and it flashes with the dull shine of ground that refuses to be ground. I run it across the gap like L. Eyeing track for a train I'm already riding. Kinetic lattice, Rafa names, reverent because she's earned it. State. Prototype. Cost. Heat and focus. Side effect. Your heart will try to beat to the web's rhythm. That's fine. That's beautiful. Try not to overdo it. I grin because I'm not made of stone. You always give the warnings late. You never listen early. Commission ops try to reassert the script. They shout. They funnel. They bring out orange vests like magic talismans. The cutter under the manhole hiccups again. A riot of dust leaps at me, and then away, as if told, emphatically, not you. Uraraka drops from the fire escape onto my lattice with 1 foot and a held breath. It takes her weight like a promise and I hate how good that feels. She pushes past 2 cops, hands in the air. Zone it off, she yells. Follow the. She stops because saying follow the invisible stairs the miracle boy is placing won't help. Follow her, I shout instead, and they do. Because she commits a ND because I sound like I have a plan I haven't written down. A metallic buzz whips past my head. A rescue drone drops into the sink of the street and unfolds little arms like a crab that learned manners. It aims a projector at my web and the beam isn't light, the beam is a no. The hexagon under my foot unknits at the edges like a sweater pulled the wrong way. Rafa flares red. Herald class. S. Ignature. Audit tool disguised as safety. Purpose. Invalidate anything not on record. It's not deleting the web, it's refusing to acknowledge it, which makes the world comply. The beam slides left. The lattice dims where it goes. I grab an umbrella from a rack in front of a hardware store that's currently selling Panic for half price and hurl it at the drone. It clips the lens, skitters off, and lands open, spinning down into the hole like a weird blessing. Not enough, Rafa says. You can't punch denial. You have to root around it. The drone adjusts its beam to aim at the anchors of the lattice, points of pressure, heat. And that tiny bit of borrowed gravity. It's trying to unsign my signature. I crack my knuckles because a dumb part of me thinks that helps. Idea, noise. If it reads the world to see what's valid. Change what the world says back. Flood it with 1,000 small truths. Make it choose poorly. Jiro. I say, and don't have to finish. She slaloms down the blow. CK on a scooter she definitely stole for the cause, jumps the curb, and throws herself next to me like she meant to arrive exactly now. What's the plan? She pants. Make that drone hear everything at once. Her eyes snap to the little crab of a machine. Her jaw tightens. I hate every version of that sentence. Can you do it? I ask, because faith tastes better when it's earned and she likes her compliments baked into work. She rips the jack from her ear, plugs it into a phone that isn't hers because she borrowed it with a smile, and drags a slider to a place most phones don't go when they prefer to keep their warranties. Sound builds in the back of my teeth, not loud, thick. She doesn't aim it at the drone. She aims it at the street. The lattice hums with it like a chorus-finding pitch. The drone's beam wobbles, then narrows, then fights because that's what tools do when the job gets messy. Uraraka points at the bus driver who hasn't left his seat. Sir, come on. Her voice climbs, breaks, regains itself. He shakes his head mutely, hand on the wheel like his spine is welded to the schedule. She stumbles, then sets her jaw. Fine, hold tight. She pushes off, floats herself to the bus, slaps the side with her palm, and the massive box leans light. Too light. If it goes, it'll skate into a sandwich shop and make history out of a menu. I run, plant, and feel for the places in the air that want to be stairs. The lattice rises under the bus's wheels like a rogue mechanic who loved geometry. It holds. Uraraka's breath whooshes out. She's sweating. So am I. We both pretend not to notice. The drone pulses a new rhythm. The web under my foot flickers. It isn't cutting. It's convincing. It's telling the space that my step never existed, and the space wants to be agreeable. Rafa, I say, borrow more gravity. From who? Uraraka's field is a river. I dip my hand and steal a sip like a thief and a friend. The lattice thickens with it, wait and not wait more. IED into a walkway that shouldn't work and still does. Jiro swears. She cranks her mix into chaos. Street chatter, siren fragments, radio squelch, breath, shoes on concrete, an entire city's sound leaf. Eerie mixed into a wall of this is happening. The drone shivers in its shell. Still denying. Rafa says, impressed. Stubborn. Respect. The drone re-aims. At me now, smart little bureaucrat, and the beam touches my chest. For a blink, my bones feel like paper that someone tried to erase her whole. The world around me dims at the edges. Don't you dare, Jiro says to a machine, and the machine hesitates. Because she sounds like a mother who knows your middle name. I laugh because fear and delight sit right next to each other in my throat. I take that laugh and throw it onto the web. It trembles, then sets. My heart catches the rhythm and decides it likes it here. The cutter under the manhole ramps up, trying to force the third collapse. I clap my hands, then pull them apart slow. Heat strings form between my palms like taffy. I cast those strings down into the sides, anchoring the web to lamp posts, signs, scaffolds, the bus's new resting place, every public object blessed by a permit and a bolt. Kinetic lattice. I say out loud, naming helps, hold. It does. The last civilians cross the web in a messy line. Jiro slips her hand into the air like she's checking the temperature of a pool, the hex under her palm thrums. Sure. She looks at me, joy leaking out the edges of her eyes. I file it under promises. Time to go, Uraraka says over her shoulder. She's got 2 kids on either side of her and a woman clinging to her backpack like a lifeline. She looks at me a second too long, then away like she remembered she built a trap today and hates herself more for needing me to walk into it. The drone tries one last denial. It fires a tight beam at the anchor I hid under the bus's wheel. The beam touches it, and finds nothing to erase because I stitched that anchor out of 10 thin truths instead of 1 thick one. You can't cut what spreads. The drone hums high, offended. Then its lens blinks like an eye realizing it looked too long. It collapses into itself, folds wrong, and drops into the hole with a sound like an apology swallowed before it reaches teeth. I exhale. The lattice holds a second longer to make me cocky and then fades, polite. Asphalt settles into the shape of a scar. A cheer starts at the edge of the block where the evac ended. It's not the big roar stadiums make when they need to feel a part of something. It's the small collective relief of people, who thought they were about to be broken and weren't. It spirals out, catches pockets, jumps the curb, becomes something that makes my ribs want to give. Do not bow, Rafa says. You bow, you get. Your face on their feeds with a caption you didn't write. I wasn't going to bow. I lie, and don't. Commission PR staffers arrive late and glossy. A woman with hair that broadcasts authority steps in front of a camera crew that teleported out of a van. We want to thank our first responders. She doesn't see me at all because it would complicate the narrative. I prefer it that way. I step behind a parked car and into a shadow the size of a handshake. Uraraka angles toward me before the crowd swallows her. She stops just short. Her mouth opens, then closes. She looks very young and very old. I set the bait, she says, low. No excuses. They said civilians wouldn't be at risk. I lift my eyebrows and let silence sit there long enough for honesty to decide if it wants to live. She nods once, tiny. Like she gave herself permission to feel awful. Next time, I say, don't write your name on a bullet. Her jaw clenches. I thought I was writing my name on a safety plan. I want to say you could have asked me. That's petty and also true. I want to say I would have come anyway, which is dangerously true. I settle for, you adjusted. You saved people. She laughs once, heartbreak short. With your floor. With our floor. I correct, and her eyes water at the middle like that sentence touched something raw. Jiro strides up in the space between two camera pans and plants RSELF between us like a stand with guitar picks. She looks at Uraraka, then at me, then at the lattice's last friendly shimmer as it dies. You okay? She asks. It's for me, but she cuts her eyes too. Uraraka on purpose so the question lands on both of us. I'm riding adrenaline like a surfer who can't swim, I say. You. She blows out a breath. I want to punch a drone. Get in line. Urarik. A's shoulders creep up defensively and then drop because she refuses to be less than she is. You want to yell at me? Yell now. Jiro tucks hair behind her ear and dials herself down 3 notches. Quote, I want to tell you I listened to your heartbeat from a block away and you were honest and scared. Both matter. Don't do their traps. If you need him, text me. We'll make our own plan. Uraraka stares, like someone just told her there's a door in her house she never noticed. Her voice goes small. You'd still leave me your number. Jiro shrugs. We're either less stupid together or more dead apart. Uraraka nods once. Okay. She whispers. Okay. Behind us, a commission representative gestures at the venting unit like it saved a cat from a tree. The unit shows a green light the city cameras love. The camera on the corner pole shows 1902, then 1900, then 1903. An officer slaps its casing like a TV from the 90s. It pretends to be fixed. Subplot note, Rafa says dryly. Our auditor sent a toy and we broke its manners. Expect a memo. Let him send it, I say. We stapled the street back together with noise and stubbornness. Jiro squeezes my sleeve. It's small. It's not nothing. Where to? She asks. Ops, I say. Door tonight. Quote. She nods. All business now that she bled a little heart. I'll come. You'll be louder than the walls, I say, which is both a compliment and a concern. She shoulders it like a reward. Turn left on purpose. Keep me 3 buildings out till you need me. I'll make the cameras yawn. Uraraka lingers. Do you want me to evac the evac? I say, Tilton. G my chin at the cluster of shaken strangers trying to find their cars and their breath and their shoes. You're better at nursing chaos until it stands up. She nods again, jaw hard with purpose, eyes wrecked with guilt, hands steady. I'll do it right. Do it honest, I say. Right is slow. The bus driver, gray cap, stubborn line for a mouth, leans out and lifts a hand. I lift mine back. 2 seconds. Enough to file under kept alive by petty pride and a public schedule. I love him for it. We go in 3 different directions at once. It feels like a plan because we decided not to be the commission's choreography. I take a vertical exit. Signpost, awning, brick seam, and the city folds open to the high lanes. On the roofline, I pause long enough to catch the breath I keep pretending I don't need. My heart taps the last of the lattice rhythm against my sternum like a drummer at soundcheck. I let it. Promises matter. Below, a kid in the yellow raincoat holds her mother's hand and keeps looking up. Trying to see the invisible stairs. The parrot in the cage says a bad word it must have learned from an honest man. The drone in the hole sparks a little, tries to deny its own crash, fails. Log the herald signature, I say. Logged. If they bring a stronger one, we bring a louder city. I like that sentence. I like that you made it true. The crowd's cheer doesn't need a face. That's the best kind. I let it wash over my absence and don't step into it, because we're not a myth, we're a problem they can't frame. Across the avenue, a bakery sign blinks open, then OPNE, then GIV. S up and goes dark like it got embarrassed. The lamppost's timestamp returns to normal by picking a side at random. I grin at the sky because I'm petty and because I won. We slip east, ahead of the press and the cleanup and the narratives. Rafa hums like a content machine that learned how to be proud. My calves feel like they've been doing a polite dance since morning. My hands are steady. My head is clear enough to write. Name it, I say, and Rafa's smile is a frequency across the bones of my ear. Kinetic lattice acquired. Keep it close, I say. We'll need it. You made it. It lives in your hands. Ahead, a familiar rhythm taps back from a locked door. 3 knocks, pause, 2. Todoroki's version of cute. I shake out my shoulders. Jiro's scooter whines softly 2 blocks away, waiting for my cue. Uraraka's voice, frayed but firm, carries from the far curb as she gets strangers into cabs and keeps them arguing about tips instead of trauma. The city breathes. The ledger in the sky scribbles a note I can't read yet. I'm not worried. We've got friends, a web, and a habit of telling the world no when it tries to edit us. I step into the next plan like a man who knows the G. Round will meet him halfway because he built it too. Chapter 3 end. Chapter 4. Grenades and glass hearts. The stadium hasn't heard a cheer in months. Wind slides through plastic seats and carries the smell of old chalk and something sweet from a concession stand that never learned the word expired. The scoreboard blinks 0-100 because no one asked it to dream bigger. Bakugo waits on the 50-yard line, gauntlets off. Palms wrapped in tape like we agreed to keep it honest. He's vibrating in that feral way that makes birds leave fences. Todoroki leans in a tunnel mouth like a question mark trying to be chill. High up in the shadow of the announcer booth, feathers catch what little light there is and hold it. Hawks, pretending to be casual. He's never casual. I step out of the tunnel, coat. Traded for a black training top that fits. No drama. I drop a bottle of water on the sideline like this is practice and not a choice about how we're going to live with ourselves after. Bakugo doesn't do preambles. No toys. He growls. No tricks. Okay. I say. No scripts either. He grins because he heard the blade inside that. He breathes once, steady, then moves. Heat blooms, but he doesn't lead with a big one. He changes his rhythm in the first 2 steps. 2 short pops, a feint, then a burst that uses the feint's smoke to hide a slide. He's been practicing alone with no cameras, and it shows. Good. I don't backpedal. I step into his space and turn my hips so the blast spills off. Thermal null step makes the ground glide under me. His left hand snaps for my shoulder. I tilt. He grabs air and curses. Shut up. He snaps preemptively, because he assumes I'm about to be clever. Didn't say anything, I say, snapping my fingers once like a cheap metronome. He goes high, then low, then nasty. I match him beat for beat, palms redirecting, shoulders slipping past shoulders. The first real hit I give him is a grip on his wrist that says I can break this. I don't. I let go. He hates me for the restraint more than he would for the pain. Stop babysitting me, he snarls, sweat stinging his eyes. Stop needing it. He laughs, sharp and delighted despite himself. Then he detonates point blank. White fire claws up the air, and for a blink I'm inside the roar. The stadium lights shiver. Plastic seats wobble in their brackets. That old concession sugar decides to caramelize. I plant. I let the heat run along my forearms and bleed into the air behind me. My skin hums, not hurt, tuned. I ride the shock wave 2 steps and slide back in like a knife returning to a sheath. Todoroki watches without blinking. Hawks shifts, weight light on the rail, attention heavier than the stadium. Harder. Bakugo spits. Stop teaching. Hit me. You want me to fix you, I say. Not my job. He flares. Nitro sparks across the tape on his palms. His eyes go weird with focus and feeling enraged he can't aim anywhere good. He pulls from the floor of himself and throws a blast I remember from a day I try not to revisit. It snakes to my face like a homing thought. I drop my palm. The blast should bloom, but it coughs. It pops like a candle trying to be a bonfire. The flame kernel gasps and dies. Bakugo stares, then grins. There it is, he whispers, almost proud. New toy. Not a toy, I say, testing the air with my fingers. The space around my hand is hollow in a specific way, oxygen micro-vortices stripped. Ignition starved. Hawk's wings have been milking the air for micro-gusts this whole time, careless, curious. I steal the pattern, fold it into a field, teach the zone around my body to be temporarily bored with explosions. Rafa hums. Blast silence, provisional. You're canceling flame birth by disrupting the swirl. Keep it tight or you'll asphyxiate your own lungs. Noted. Bakugo snaps off another, tiny fizz. He barks a laugh that sounds a little like relief and a lot like a challenge. Good. Now stop being pretty about it. We dance. He tries ranges. I take them away. He builds angles. I unhook their teeth. He's smiling and hating me and healing something he won't admit got cracked. Every time I pin him, I let him up before 3. Every time he clips my jaw, I take it clean and thank him with my eyes. He understands. That's our language. Todoroki steps out of the tunnel slowly, as if walking across a frozen pond at the exact moment spring decides. You're going to attract the whole district if you keep lighting a stadium, he says, moving closer until he can see the sheen of sweat on Bakugo's cheekbones and the way my hands aren't shaking. Good. Bakugo pants. Let 'em line up. Not tonight, I say, because I want one thing that isn't on their feeds. Hawk's voice drifts down lazy as a second cup of coffee. You boys role-playing trust falls. Or should I call this a training montage? Leave. Bakugo snaps without looking. Bird, I call, still slipping around Bakugo's reach, your wing beats are cute. Keep it up. He chuckles, and 3 floors up. Feathers whisper. The air tilts in tiny ways only Rafa and I are paying rent to notice. The blast silence field hardens with that borrowed shear. Bakugo's next detonati on fizzles at the edges and spits the middle like a cat. Rude, Hawks says, amused. You're ruining highlight reels. High reels got people hurt, I say. We're done feeding them. Bakugo surges, sudden, low. He scuffs my ankle, goes for the sweep, almost gets it. I step onto the heat of his own blast and ride it up, then down behind him. 2 fingers to his nape and he stills like his muscles got told an old truth. I could choke him out. I don't. My fingers open. I take a step back. He stands and roars into the empty stadium, sweat and pride and a half-choked sob he kills for his own dignity. The roar bounces off seats and returns as something softened by distance. You going to talk now? He asks. About the whatever you're running with. He flaps a hand at my head like the concept. T lives 3 inches to the left of my brain. No speeches, I say. I'm not selling anything. Good. He scrubs his face with the back of his wrist. Because I wouldn't buy it. We stop a moment, and let our chests find the same rhythm without admitting it. Todoroki moves closer, careful. Close enough that the cold on his right arm kisses the heat on his left and makes a tiny weather system between us. Midoriya, he says, choosing words like tools he refuses to strip. The commission's ops wing will lock you out by morning. If you want to move, it has to be tonight. Working on it, I say. Bakugo snorts. Working on what? Breaking and entering. Breaking and informing, I say. Different sport. Same penalty. Hawks calls. Stop listening. Bakugo barks up at him. Can't hear you over all that personal growth. Hawks says. The humor drops out of his voice for one clean beat. For what it's worth, kid, I prefer the version of you that makes me nervous to the version they can predict. Do something about your bosses, then, I toss back. I am, he says, which is probably a lie that contains a truth too expensive to spend yet. A hush sneaks into the stadium from nowhere. The sky over the scoreboard wrinkles like a thin sheet pulled wrong. Words unspool in pale gold where no projector lives. Unauthorized forks, one in a faint, ugly resolve. YN, that shivers like. It was scratched into glass from the other side. Bakugo's eyes flick up. Nothing. Todoroki's brows pull a hair together. He's feeling air change and writing his own theory he'll test later. I raise my voice for the thing that's listening. Not tonight. The words fade. The sky tries to pretend it didn't text me. Subplot memo delivered, Rafa says dry. He's escalating visibility to coax you into a controlled response. Don't. On brand. I roll my shoulders. We finished. Bakugo looks like a man peering into a mirror he avoided for years and finding a face he can stand. Round 1, he says. Money where your mouth is. I toss the water bottle. He catches it without looking and drains it halfway. I'm broke, I say. But I've got credit. He huffs. Here. He digs a folded paper from the pocket of his shorts. The kind that doesn't survive the washer. A number lives on it in scrawls and scratches. You need me. You call this, not my phone. Don't text. I'll know. I take it. I don't say thank you because he'll punch me out of reflex. I slide it into my waistband. It sits against my skin like a small hot coal. Todoroki watches the transfer and exhales like a decision ratified itself. Ops has a north door with a badge reader that fails open if the south vestibule is in fire mode. You can't trip fire. They'd lock you in. But if someone nudged the air handlers to think air tasting smoke without sounding alarms. Jiro, I say. Jiro, he echoes, and doesn't ask how many lines she's willing to cross for me. He already peeked at the answer when he wasn't looking. We stand there a minute. 3 boys who have been turned into things and decided to be men instead. Hawks shifts again, and I can hear the tiny scrape of boot on rusted grate like a signature. Why are you here? I ask him. Not bothering to project. He can hear me when he wants to. Curiosity, he says. Insurance. A feather meets another feather in the dark, whispering. And because someone the food chain keeps moving clocks and I have a suspicion that's going to eat my pension. Keep your receipts, I say. Always do. He pauses. Careful with Cyan-G. She's a snake who learned to shed her skin on camera so people would call it growth. Todoroki's mouth tightens. We're not discussing her like she's the only problem. Never said she was, Hawks replies, voice going light aga. In like he spotted a line he almost crossed. Have fun, kids. He leaves without ruffling a single public feather. Somewhere above, a lock sighs and then forgets it did. Bakugo drags both hands through his hair until it's a field of spikes trying out directions. You're going to try not hitting them, he says. The commission. The gods. Everyone. You're going to try to be good with a scalpel. I'm going to be precise, I say. He nods once. Then you'd better get really mean with your lines. We will, I say. He steps in, stares hard at my face, and I let him. He's not checking for weakness. He's checking for a thing he can name later when he calls me at a stupid hour and asks, without asking, for help. You're still a nerd, he says finally. Correct. Still annoying. More correct. He grins, shows teeth, and slaps my shoulder so hard it would have slammed me 2 weeks ago. It doesn't move me now. He feels the difference and files it somewhere he can stand to keep it. Don't die, he says like it's a threat for my own good. Not on the schedule, I say. He snorts, turns, and jogs off into the tunnel. He doesn't look back. That's how I know he will. Todoroki lingers. He studies the center of the field like he's counting blades of fake grass. I meant what I said, he says. I'll open doors. I know. And if I have to choose between the doors and you, he says, I'll choose the truth. Don't make me regret that. I won't. I think about how honest his ice is and how dishonest his father's heat was. I add, you're good at calm in the middle of other people's need to be loud. He blinks once. Coming from me, that lands in a place he doesn't show. We're moving at 2 a.m., he says. North side. Be unpredictable until then. I nod. He goes, footsteps quiet. The stadium returns to wind and old sugar. Status, I tell Rafa. Blast silence. Stable at close range. Range expands with wing shear patterns you stole. Thank the bird later. Or don't. Your call. A beat. You okay? Yeah. You're not pretending to be okay. You are. That's new. Don't jinx it. I don't believe in jinxes. I believe in angles. On the scoreboard, a dead pixel decides it's alive for 2 seconds. Spells a crooked high, then dies again. I flip it off with childish delight and then laugh at myself because I have to, because otherwise the weight settles and calls itself furniture. I walk the stadium steps up into the night. In the parking lot beyond the gate, a gull picks at a French fry fossil under a light that flickers twice and chooses a timeline. Across the sky, something like static thinks about writing more ledger notes, then decides passive-aggressive is a better look. I cut across asphalt and up a fence that forgot it had a top. The city greets me with the same old music pretending to be new. I let it be both. 2 blocks away, a convenience store door jingles. A girl laughs into a phone. A clock over the deli says 21:16, then 21:14, then catches up with a shrug. The world's editor keeps trying to shove me into a margin. I write bigger. Phone that isn't mine pings once. A message from a number labeled unknown in a handwriting I know. 2 a.m. North. Bring the web. Todoroki. Trying out brevity like it's cool. It is. I tuck Bakugo's paper number deeper so I don't sweat it loose. I line up a path in my head that keeps me off the obvious and the kind of surfaces that say yes to a guy who asks politely while running fast. Rafa, I say, here, do I owe the bird a thank you? You owe everyone a boundary and some of them a bowl of noodles. Thanks are optional. Add noodles to the list. Consider it logged. I move. Roofs, vents, the long arm of a billboard, the lazy stretch of a laundry line that decides to be a bridge for old time's sake. Under me, hawks shadows for a block and then peels off. He got what he came for. The feel of what we are when nobody is grading us. Over me, the sky resists the urge to text back. Good. Let it stew. By the time I hit the ridge over the river, the wind coming off the water smells like iron and cheap fireworks. I stop just long enough to hear the city say my name in 10 different ways that all mean keep going. I do. We got through a fight without giving anyone a show to sell. We pulled a new trick from calm instead of panic. We used it to hold back a person who asked to be hit and handed him a number instead. We put a small bend in the narrative that says boys like us only know how to break. 2 a.m. is coming. So are doors that think they're walls. I flex my fingers, let the air go quiet around them a second. Then release it with a grin I can't quite hide. Hey, I tell the night. Turn the mics down. They do. Chapter 4 end. Chapter 5. Angels cheat. Morning flips the city to bright and pretends we slept. I'm halfway through a convenience store onigiri on a rooftop when every sheet of glass in Musudafu goes wrong. Not shattered. Replaced. The mirrored office toe. Across from me shows a city where I don't exist. The ramen stall is boarded. The bus line is different. The billboard sells a politician instead of sugar water. A woman on the sidewalk lifts her PH1 to take a photo and in the reflection her arm isn't there. Rafa. Reflection layer injected. Source isn't local. Think overlay, not hologram. Probability of auditor. High. Below. People stumble. A cyclist hits a hole that only exists in the fake city and wipes out in the real one. Horns. A baby starts crying and keeps going like an ambulance with lungs. I swallow rice, hop off the roof, and sprint down the facade with my feet doing polite miracles. The glass lobby door at street level shows an empty street when mine is crowded. I wave my hand at it and my reflection doesn't wave back. Cute. I say to nobody. Illegal. Quote. The air hums and something arrives. A figure stepping out of a seam in light like a polite memo took human shape. 6 wings, not feathery, folded geometry that looks bureaucratic. The halo's not a ring, it's a slow orbiting of little gold chips. Clipboard. Naturally. Identification. It asks, voice like a clean staircase. Timeline anomaly designated Midoriya, Izuku. You are not approved. I glance at a street window. The reflected crowd walks without me. My chest goes a little cold. I get that a lot. It inclines its head with courtly menace. Cherub X. Herald of Root. We are initiating rollback to the last compliant state. Please hold for deregistration. Every person on the block freezes mid-step. A coffee hangs in the air. A tie floats between neck and wind. The baby's cry slices off mid-wail and my body wants to break into 1,000 runs at once. I don't feel the freeze. I'm the reason for it. That's new and I hate it. Rafa. Rollback field. Temporal smoothing. We can't stop it. We can refuse it if you root force correctly. Borrow heat. Borrow sound. Borrow everything. I inhale the morning's heat, the hiss off the bus rails, the low hum of building AC. I slam it into the ground under my feet and pull up hard. The air in front of me gels, then tessellates into hexes. Kinetic lattice rises. The block breathes through me like a snorkel. Cherub X watches. Patient. Unauthorized resistance. Please desist. This will be easier if you consent. Everything's easier if we stop being people, I say. Pass. I need noise. Big, honest, human. I cup my hands and yell at the rooftop 2 buildings over. Jiro. Loud. A scooter skids to a ragged stop. She's here, of course she is, because she reads the city like sheet music. She doesn't ask questions. She rips a cable from her bag, jacks into a street PA nobody knew still worked, and throws a wall of sound at the block. Not volume, life. Footsteps layered over traffic, her heartbeat riding under mine. The rumble of trains, 1,000 tiny truths cranked into a frequency that says this is real. The reflection layer flickers. Cherub's halo chips twitch like someone messed with their math. Insufficient, it says pleasantly, and increases the field. The frozen coffee tips farther backward, gravity reconsidering. Bakugo lands beside me in a hop that's more statement than arrival. No gauntlets, just taped hands and teeth. What the hell is that? A health inspector for time, I say. Seed me micro blasts. Small, lots, everywhere. I clap my hands and show with 2 fingers. I need glitter. Angry glitter. He doesn't argue. Nitro pops bloom like stars across the block. Controlled, precise, the kind of bombs you use to win a cook-off, not a war. The lattice drinks each pop and braces. The overlay ripples, annoyed. Left side's drooping. Bakugo mutters, already adjusting. On it. I backpedal, plant, and lay a skimming ramp that runs along the storefronts like a low tide. Under the glass, the reflection city carries on politely without me. It's obscene. A flatbed truck honks a swear from the next street over. Momo's in the bed, hair yanked into a fast clip. Hands full of copper and stubbornness. She doesn't wait for directions. She builds, battery, braided magnet wire, a metal hand cart she yanks from an alley and strips bare, tarp over the top like a field tent. She arcs clamps to the truck battery, snicks the switch, and the cart hums a throat note that makes the fillings in my teeth remember their metal. Faraday-ish, she calls over the soundstorm. Not pretty. It's perfect, I yell back. Bring it to the clipboard. She shoves the cart with her whole body. Todoroki skates into place on a thin ribbon of ice under sneaker soles, palms out. Not attacking. Holding air. He pins thermal seams on both sides of the cart to stop the hum from disintegrating into the ambient. He's not making cold. He's making stable. Cherub X finally looks annoyed. Which for this thing means a micro-angular adjustment of a cheek that barely exists. Teamwork, it notes, like it's impressed with a spreadsheet. Admirable. Non-compliant. The halo chips turn. The freeze hardens. My lattice creaks like an aircraft wing in a dive. People mid-step begin to fade where the overlay thinks they should be somewhere else. The baby shimmers. Jiro's jaw clenches as she leans into her mix like a woman arguing with a hurricane. No shredding, just insistence. Rafa, I grit. It's not killing time. It's telling mirrors to win. A beat. Break the mirrors, Izuku. Physically, metaphorically, then physically. Sample its beam. Learn the refraction. Find the angle that the overlay can't metabolize. I inhale the very edge of Cherub's rollback EAD. Barely touch it, and my tongue goes numb like I licked a battery connected to a god. I yank my hand back, cough, spit blood. Gross. Again, Rafa says softly. Again. Taste, recoil, curse, map stupid elegant math it's writing across glass. It's hammering one rule. The most stable picture wins. Ours is noisy. Theirs is clean. So, make ours stably noisy. I drag heat off the street lamps, signal from Jiro's mix. The micro gusts from Bakugo's pops, the hum from Momo's cage, Todoroki's thermal calm that refuses to wobble. I braid them and cast them at the windows like a fisherman throwing net. The reflections stutter, then try to correct. Hold it, I say through my teeth. We're almost. The halo chips realign. Cherub X takes one elegant step forward and the whole block rewinds a second. A woman's scream sucks back into her throat. My hand goes where it was, not where I put it. My stomach lurches. Try to kill me properly. I snarl, and set my feet like a runner against a starting block made of disobedience. You're close, Rafa says, too calm. Exactly right. Name it and claim it, Izuku. Name what you're doing. Give it a slot in your head. Mirabreak, I say, because the word feels like a tool made of truth. I flare heat across my palms and clap once, hard. The wave isn't force, it's hypocrisy exposure. It strikes the reflection layer through the windshield of a parked car, the hair salon display. A bank facade pretending to be the real world, and cracks them inside the glass without touching the outside. Spiderweb lines bloom across surfaces, not breaking the physical pain, splitting the counterfeit map laid on top. The overlay screams in a pitch humans don't hear. Jiro flinches but doesn't pull back. She harmonizes, the absolute menace. The baby starts CR. Ying again because the freeze drops a notch. That sound punches me in the heart in the good way. The world's clock ticked forward on purpose. Cherub X lifts its clipboard. Unauthorized interference, it says, less polite now. Escalation required. Roll back to T-120 seconds. The street lurches. 2 minutes peel off reality like tape. The truck is suddenly at the corner again. Momo is 2 strides back from where she shoved. Todoroki's breath resets, frost reforming in a pretty pattern that has no patience for this. I snarl a terrible laugh and lean into the rollback. The thread tries to sweep me. I lower my shoulder and let it flow through me like I'm a drain it can't clog. The lattice trembles, threatens to tear, then hooks a new anchor. Bakugo's last scatter pop that, this time, hasn't happened yet. I take it anyway. Cheating. Bakugo barks, genuinely delighted. My favorite. Rollback resist, Rafa says, brisk and proud. Short window. 3 breaths before cost spikes. After that, you'll get sick in interesting ways. 3 breaths is plenty. I drag the not quite time into my chest, bend it like a wire, and ground it into Momo's cage. Her eyes flash. She feels the change, shifts her grip, and flips a switch I didn't see her install. The hum picks up harmonics. The halo chips wobble. Containment. Momo grits through her teeth. Todoroki. Hold me a space right here. He does. Its radius perfect. Its pressure even. The hum settles into the hole he built like it always belonged there. The reflections jitter between with me and without me and settle on with, Bako. Say our noise is now the stable thing and their clean lie keeps tripping. I take a ragged breath and grin like a problem child who broke into the teacher's key drawer. Cherub X blinks. Unadvisable. You are creating precedent. Good. I say. I look hot in precedent. It raises its free hand and points at me. A column of light falls. No heat, all authority. I flare Mirabreak and meet it with the palm of my hand. Thumb braced against my own wrist like I'm catching a fastball. It doesn't burn. It tries to label. I refuse the label. My bones hum like bells. Then the column tilts, the chips flutter, and the beam skews off into the cage, where the hum eats it like electricity loves copper. The world exhales. People unfreeze. Coffee spills. The tie slaps a shirt. The baby wails with gusto. A man starts laughing so hard he coughs and holds onto a bench. 2 teenagers high-five like they planned this stunt and pulled it off. Jiro is suddenly kneeling in front of a kid under a restaurant awning. Her voice low and conspiratorial. Wanna hear something weird? She asks, and hums one clear note. He hiccups, then giggles, hiccups again, giggles more. The storm inside him swaps names. I breathe easier. Bakugo wipes his mouth with his wrist, smears soot, looks about 10 years older and 2 years freer. Again, he says, wild-eyed, as if ready to push his pops into a metronome until EV. Uri false window in the city shatters from shame. Not today, I say, because my knees are starting to send me emails. Hold. Cherub X tries to speak and coughs out a glitter of code. The Halo Kai. PS reassemble into a rectangle that stiffens into a notice. Gold letters float in the air between us, neat and smug. Midoriya, Izuku, report to route for deregistration. The sign hangs there like a parking ticket for reality. People can see it. That's new. Phones come out. oily with fingerprints and courage. Yeah, I tell the notice. Hard pass. A flinch goes through the light. For the first time, the herald looks unsure. More machine than angel now, more clerk than killer. Escalation prohibited without consent of root, it says, as if reciting a rule it wishes it could break. You have forced a public contradiction. Be aware. This creates liability. Cool, I say, write me up. Momo slaps the cage off and kicks the cart back toward the truck. Todoroki keeps the air still as a library. Bakugo steps half a pace forward and then stops himself because growth is a series of tiny breaks on bad urges. Cherub X composes itself. Wings folding, ships counting down. Temporary reprieve. Root will decide. It inclines its head to the people, not me. That pisses me off in a way I'm going to enjoy later. Please resume your day. It vanishes without theatrics. The reflection layer SL. Ows off the city like old skin and goes nowhere. Glass shows me again. The ramen stall in the window is open. The bus line is ours. The cheer that follows isn't tidy. It comes in pockets and bursts and swears and prayers. A woman hugs Momo and then apologizes for touching her blouse. Momo says she can make another blouse. The woman cries harder. Todoroki picks up a fallen stroller wheel with TWO fingers like it might bite and snaps it back on. Bakugo takes a step and 5 people flinch and he sees it and he swallows something nasty and says, "Good job," to a stranger helping another stranger and nobody dies. PR vans show late and glossy. A commission representative gestures at the venting unit like it saved the block. Cameras tilt to catch hero angles. None of our faces are convenient to their street. Ori because none of us stand still long enough to be framed. Jiro touches my sleeve, eyes still bright from the soundstorm. Your hands okay? She asks. They'll whine later, I say. You'll feed them noodles, she says. And the tease is soft enough to click into the space between my ribs and the day. Momo steps in, hair a mess she pretends is an experiment, cheeks flushed. She holds up 2 fingers a breath apart. We got 12.2 seconds of perfect mute on the herald's beam inside the cage. More if we had a second battery. Next time we bring 2 trucks, I say. And a choir. Jiro can be a choir, Todoroki says. He's not joking. Jiro blushes, then flips him off without heat. He takes it like a brother and nods once more than necessary. I glance up. The sky's clean, which is also a lie. Somewhere above, a ledger wrote my name on a chalkboard titled Problems in capital letters. Cool. Phones point everywhere. A journalist with good shoes and bad questions sets up a shot. I step sideways into a shadow and let the city swallow me up to the eyes. Rafa, I murmur, walking. We good. Mirrorbreak. Acquired. Roll back resist. Provisional, don't be a hero for longer than 3 breaths. Cost includes nausea, mild time sickness, and your joints hating you for an hour. A pause. You did well. We did well. Fine. We did well. A small hand closes on my sleeve. The kid Jiro calmed peers up at me. Nose snotty, eyes full of serious. You made stairs, he says like he's giving a witness statement. Want to try one? I ask, and before Momo can glower, I build a 3-step echo of the lattice in the air over the street, tiny, safe, show only. The boy climbs, giggles, jumps off, lands and beams like he invented downward. His mom mouths thank you over his head. I nod. Jiro wipes the kid's face with a tissue, because of course she has tissues, because of course she's everyone's emergency kit. Bakugo tilts his chin toward me. It's not a bow. It's not forgiveness. It's acknowledgement of a job done without screaming. That's rarer than it should be. Momo moves closer, low-voiced. You need food and water. Always. We also need to get the echo file into the right ear. Cyan G. I ask. She shakes her head. Not yet. Someone beneath her wants to be seen doing the right thing. We hand them the fuse. Pick the hand, I say. I'll light it. Todoroki's phone buzzes. He glances, frowns, then shows me a message from a number labeled director that says stand down. Then another, a minute earlier, saying proceed. He exhales through his nose. He's compromised. Or someone is wearing him, I say. Either way, we script ourselves. Tonight we pull ops. He nods, tight and sure. I'll meet you at North. A commission camera on the corner fixes, then slips. Then decides to show 12:41 even though my bones say 12:45. Jiro taps her ear and the camera's attention wanders like a bored cat. On the sidewalk, the gold notice from Cherubix still hangs, faint now, stubborn. People take pictures of it like a tourist attraction nobody understands. Someone throws a shoe. It passes through. The notice doesn't care. Leave it, I say. Let the city see the ticket. Momo falls into step with me as I move off. The afternoon heat tastes like sugar and static. My hands throb. My head's clear enough to write. Nice name, she says. Which? Mirrorbreak. You like the brand. She bumps my shoulder with a look that says stop deflecting. I like that it works. We cut through an alley that smells like old oranges. Bakugo peels off with a wave that's actually a promise. Jiro lingers long enough to hear 3 blocks of heartbeats settle into normal and then scoots away to make a kid laugh in a different part of town. Todoroki texts a map T. Hat is mostly thermals and I get it anyway. On a building face to our right, a window catches the light and for a second shows a city without us again. Then the crack I put into the overlay ripples and the lie falls out like dust. Log it, I tell Rafa. Logged. A beat. Also, a message. From who? Root. She says. Via subchannel. Very polite. You are invited to justify your fork. Party invite, I say. Dress code. Armor. Honesty. Friends. Bring noodles, I say. Momo smiles despite herself. We always bring noodles. We make ourselves small and fast and very busy as the day stitch. Ease itself back into something like normal. PR will say the angel net tested well. The city will say it held its breath and then kept breathing. The ledger in the sky added a line item with my name on it. Good. I've been wanting them to spell it right. We've got a north door to open and a machine to embarrass. I flex my fingers. The ache answers. My grin does, too. Angels cheat, I tell the sun. So do we. Better. Chapter 5 end. Chapter 6. Fine print on a halo. UA throws its lockdown siren like a yawning dog. Loud, lazy, then suddenly serious. Gates seal. The big letters over the arch. Stop pretending to be decoration and start being metal. Rafa pings. Anchor hum detected. Subterranean. Old USJ fault line. 11 meters down, 5 east of the breach slab. Field trip, I say. Zawa meets us at the wrecked dome with hair down and patience thinner than his scarf. You make a habit of picking my worst days, he mutters. Consistency is a virtue, I offer. He stares. No, it isn't. We take the service stair where the concrete cracked in that disaster we don't say out loud. The air tastes like dust and old flood. Jiro walks point, head tilted, following a sound only she can catch. There, she says, kneeling at a seam in the slab. She taps twice. The echo comes back, alive. Like a bass note with a heartbeat. I crouch, palm flat. The hum slides up my fingers, steady and too clean. Like someone built a metronome for my blood. Anchor. I breathe. Respawn tether. Rafa confirms. If someone cuts this, you'll stop getting up when reality throws you downstairs. Let's not let them. Momo drops a canvas roll on the ground and unspools a neat row of tools improvised from not tools. A pry bar reborn from a desk leg, copper wire hacked from an old transformer, a handful of ferrite rings that didn't sign out. Todoroki stabilizes the air without looking like he's doing anything. Bakugo paces like a fuse refusing to admit it already knows how long it is. We pop the slab. The cavity below isn't tech. It's a pocket of clear space wrapped in glassy stone, and inside it's a thing like a seed that forgot to stop being light. It throbs once for me and once for the school. Aizawa's eyes go narrow. That's new. Not for long. The words come from the catwalk above. Cyan-G appears with a file folder and the kind of smile that looks reasonable on TV. Behind her, a wedge of commission officers and 2 lawyers who came pre-irritated. By order of the commission, the anomalous device is seized as evidence. Nezu pads up on the other side of the catwalk, hands folded. Expression polite like a knife in a napkin. Evidence of what, chairwoman? Evidence of exactly the thing you're pretending is under control, she says smoothly. All Might steps out Fr. Own the shadow of a busted support pillar as if he'd been leaning on it for years. Gaunt in the way that makes the air hold its breath. He looks at me first, then at the light, then at Cyan-G. His voice is soft enough to make the lawyers shift shoes. Do we seize children's lives now, Akina? Her blink is microscopic. She keeps her eyes on him because she's not stupid. We secure what can harm the public. And who decides which child is harm? He asks. Which child turns physics into a suggestion, she counters. I can feel the conversation stretching into a net, and I don't want to be the fish. Chairwoman, I say, calm. Step down into the room. If you hold your order near the light, you'll see something you weren't briefed on. She considers and surprises me by descending. The officers stay where she tells them with a flick of her hand. She's careful. I respect the craft even when I hate the application. When she hits the slab, I hold the paper with her and angle it toward the anchor. The ink buckles, a wave running through the letters like they suddenly remembered they're part of a story they didn't write. The clause about immediate seizure goes gray. The signature crawls a millimeter to the left and then back. Cyan-G doesn't gasp. Professional. She sets her jaw. You doctored our ink. I shake my head. Your ink's honest. The rule was smudged somewhere else. Above us, a phone vibrates in someone's pocket. Bakugo's head snaps toward the catwalk like a dog hearing a treat bag. A message is already on the way, bouncing from a burner inside the dorms to a commission tip line. A holdout, angry and scared, pressed send before they thought about consequences. Leak, Rafa says. Source. 1A. Ident masked. Someone trying to call this a bomb so they can feel less bad about being a fuse. We don't have time to chase the cowardly route to absolution. The air shivers. Not the building. The line our lives hang from. The song starts. It's quiet at first, like hallway humming. The letters on the U.A. arch lose their patience, one by one, until A. goes faint. Student nameplates on lockers upstairs take a tiny step toward blank. Walls forget plaques. The S. Chul motto on a banner peels like an orange. Jiro's hand clamps my arm. You hear it? She asks. There's fear in her voice and then there isn't. She makes a decision in a breath. Of course you don't. It's not for ears. It's for records. Quote. Cherub X doesn't show. We get a choir instead. Transparent things with mouths that open onto notes with edges. The sound crawls over stone and paper and the skin of our names. And everything we are thins. Cyan-G looks up, and for the first time since I met her, she looks like a person in a storm, not a storm in a person. She turns to bark orders, stops, and bites off the shout. She is smart enough to know she can't order a song to stop. All Might, I say, because I want him in the room with the right truth. Do you still remember your name if I don't say it? He smiles, small and real. Always. Then help me teach the building that trick. He nods, steps into the center, pulls in a breath that has taught nations how to move, and calls, not with power, with presence. Students, staff, say your names. His voice hits the walls, the ducts, the bones of the school, and refuses to be a prayer. The song stutters, for a beat, then resumes. G.R.O. shoves past a lawyer and vaults the slab like a track star who decided to be useful. Public address. She snaps. Nezu points. Panels fried in the West Hall. Then give me anything that makes noise. He does, because he's not dumb. In a minute Momo and Jiro have ripped the guts out of a dusty festival mixer, patched it to the PE speakers, and aimed the whole mess at the anchor. Todoroki is already balancing pressure so the feedback loops don't kill us. Bakugo stands on the stairs with a scowl and a promise and watches the door with murder for anything that enters without a face. I throw my voice into the room like a tackle. Everyone who can hear me, I say, you're going to chant the names of the people you pulled off streets last night, the day before, the year before. The ones still texting. The ones you don't want edited. Breathe. Names. Aizawa doesn't raise his voice often. When he does, it's a blade. Say them, now. It starts ugly and perfect. A first year yells her little sister's name. A janitor shouts his mother's. Present Mike, eyes too wet to joke, roars the name of a kid he coached through vomit and fear. The security guard at the gate adds the name of his cat and everyone laughs and that helps. All Might anchors every call with a yes. Like an amen. I press both hands to the light. The skin on my palms prickles like bad geometry. Rafa aligns with me, happy and terrible. Bind them. Bind the names to the bodies that carry them. Build a lock. Make it not elegant. Make it loyal. The song leans in, teeth first. It tries to slide its no under our yes. I push. Something clicks. The air around Jiro hardens for a second like a seat belt across the chest. Words try to leave her and bounce back home. The plaque over the faculty office lights from the inside out with the names of people nobody remembered to credit. Record books ripple and refuse to eat their own. Identity lock, Rafa says, almost proud. Scope. Local. Keys. Voiceprint. Heat. Heartbeat. Small stupid human truths. Revocable by trust only. Nice touch. Guardian veil. I ask. Teeth clenched. One thing at a time, overachiever. The choir of unnamed spikes the volume. Student re. Chords on a server blink. Birth dates 0 out. Come back. 0 out again. Momo grimaces, adjusts a knob 2 mm, and what was noise turns into a hum that sits inside the song and takes up space like a body in a pew. Jiro hears me without me speaking. She grabs the mic and stops performing for the building and starts talking to it. Hey, I know you, she says to a school. You taught me where the good outlets are. You made my feet cold at 2 a.m. when we were printing festival posters. You scuffed my knuckles. You do not get to forget my friends. The song hits again. This time it bounces. Not all of it. Enough that the letters on the UA arch blink awake like someone smacked the TV. Aizawa puts his hand on the wall and whispers something I don't catch. The wall listens. Cyan-ji, who has spent her career making rooms obey, shuts up and does something useful. She points at 2 officers with steady hands and says, help them brace that panel. They do, and for a second I like her. The choir gets ugly. It dives for the anchor, because of course it does. The light inside the pocket flares and shrinks, like a heart you just told reality can't have a rhythm. All Might steps between the anchor and the air and does nothing flashy, only this, he keeps breathing. The breath you take when a kid tells you they're afraid. The breath that fills a room without pushing anyone out. It shouldn't matter. It does. Now, Rafa says, cool and urgent. Wrap the anchor. Don't make a wall. Make a veil that only opens for names we trust. I sink my fingers into the edge of the pocket like I'm grabbing a handful of water and pull. The glow fights. It doesn't like hands. I give it my laugh from yesterday, the taste of ramen, the weight of Jiro's fingers on my sleeve when I was about to be stupid. Bakugo's paper number sweaty at my waist, Momo's marker squeak, All Might's, yes. And the kid in the yellow raincoat who asked to climb my invisible stairs. The glow settles and spreads. A thin film unfurls over the pocket and up the crack of the slab and onto the air like a bubble deciding to become a tent. Guardian veil, Rafa names. Opens to trust, slaps auditors. If they push, it flexes and shows them us. The choir's note shatters on it. Splinters of song spray the room like glitter and die. For a second, one long heartbeat, you can see the names. People yelled hang on them like banners, Uraraka, Jiro, Momo, Toshinori, Eraser. Kids WHO don't have capes but are always first to hold a door. Then the glow tucks in its edges and stops being pretty to stay useful. Silence hits like a hug after the alarm stops. People check their own hands and then their pockets and then their phones and then their faces, and the room doesn't get smaller. Good. Above us, the catwalk crowd exhales as a unit. Someone laughs, then claps a hand over their mouth like they're afraid to jinx it. The lawyers are pale and calculating. The officers look like they jus. She realized policy has a ceiling and they hate that. Aizawa leans against the wall and stares at me through hair. Never do that when I'm holding coffee. Noted. All Might puts a hand on my should. The way a mountain might decide to say hello. His voice is soft enough to bruise. Vengeance. Future. I say, and mean it. From outside, the city throws a sound at the school that could be dissed. And thunder or a lot of people arguing with their car alarms. The ceiling lights blink twice and then choose a new brightness. A timer unfurls across the high windows in white digits only a part of the ICs. 1 hour 59 minutes and 59 seconds ticking down. Audit timer, Rafa says. Root gave us 2 hours until a full purge attempt. That's generous, or arrogant. I look at Cyan-ji. She's already looking at me. She steps closer, careful of the veil without obviously seeing it. Her eyes pick all the threads we just knotted. She's a machine built to knit power into blankets and smother fires, and she's smart enough to smell when smoke is stage fog. Akina, All Might says, warning in the politest syllable. She lifts her hands like a surgeon showing clean fingers. Not here to fight, here to adjust. Word means save face, in your office. Bakugo mutters. He's not wrong. Cyan-ji does not look at him. She looks at me. Help me leash your god, she says, voice low, pitched just for us. Make this look like our victory. And I will take the fall for the purge. Aizawa's head jerks. What? I signed nothing, she says, finally letting the small anger through. But I let a system sign for me because it was convenient. And you can hang me for that on any day that ends with a Y. If that buys me leverage to keep Root from cracking this school open, I'll trade. Do we understand each other? Treason dressed as teamwork, Todoroki says mildly. Stability dressed as surrender, she shoots back. Pick your poison. Momo folds her arms, considering like a scientist who also wrote the ethics section. Terms, she says. Public story. Commission, in partnership with UA, discovers residual sub-dimensional hazard, dating back to USJ incident, Cyan-ji says without looking at notes because she never needs to. Commission collaborates to contain it. No boy on a slab. No resurrection protocol. Your veil is a containment membrane. We get credit for coordination, not seizure. And the purge, I ask. She meets my eyes. Mine. You'll survive resigning, I say. She smiles without teeth. You think this is about a job? We stand there long enough to hear the timer chew a second. The choir is gone. The building hums like a heart that got frightened and then decided not to be. All Might shifts, not because he's uncomfortable, because he wants to say something that matters. I have told too many children to trust institutions at their own expense. I will not do it again. He looks at Cyan-ji, not unkind. If we take your bargain, it is because we'll use it to aim higher than you ever did. That's the plan, I say. She doesn't blink. Do we have a bargain? I look at Jiro. She looks at my chest like she can hear honesty. I look at Momo. She gives the tiniest nod a human can make without creating a draft. Todoroki is a line of cool disapproval, and then a fractional lift of chin that says this door opens if we say it does. Bakugo's jaw flexes. He wants to burn it all. He also wants the school to stand when we're done. 2 hours, I say. We'll leash your god. You take the fall, and you don't touch the kids again. Cyan-ji's jaw tightens. Define touch. Write their names, Jiro says before I can get barbed. In your head and out loud. Then keep them. It is the precise wrong demand for a woman like Cyan-ji. That's why it's right. She nods, microscopic. Done. Good, I say. We'll need a city. She blinks. A city. A choir that doesn't end, I say. Bring people who know how to hold a name. Grandmothers. Bus drivers. Janitors. Kids who scream. Goal. In stairwells. You do that, and I can make the god apologize for scheduling. Nezu claps tiny paws once. Well then, he says, bright, like he just got tenure on mischief. Shall we draft a civic engagement plan in, say, 1 hour and 56 minutes? The veil softens enough for me to peel off a corner and build something small in Momo's hands while the room decides to breathe normally again. A tagger, palm-sized. A coil and a stamp. I hand her the stamp. Press it to someone's wrist. It'll sync their name to our lock for a while. She turns it over, eyes bright like a clear hypothesis. You made it friendly. Yeah. I glance up because I can feel Cyan-ji watching that tenderness like it's a liability. I'm done with tools that only hurt. Momo leans forward. Our foreheads touch for one small, quiet second like we're checking the fit of an idea. The noise of the room falls away. When we part, she looks down at the stamp and nod at my face. Professional. Kind. Todoric. I checks his phone and frowns at a time that doesn't know which direction to go. Your friend upstairs is going to leak again, he says without naming the holdout. Make space for Messi. I brought extra space, I say. Aizawa rolls his eyes. You brought trouble. I always do. Cyan-G tucks the order back into her folder even though we all saw it fail. We'll coordinate with the mayor's office, she says. We'll make it look civic. You make it work. Deal. She takes the catwalk with 2 officers and a lawyer who will never forgive today. All Might watches her go with a face I hope to earn someday. He turns back to me. There are many ways to be strong, young man. Today you chose one I'm proud of. Tomorrow I'm going to punch a god in the paperwork, I say. He laughs. It's small and real. I would like to see that. Quote, the timer ticks. 1 hour 54 minutes and 31 seconds. Rafa settles in my bones. You did 2 things I didn't expect. You made a lock that listens, and you made a veil that tells stories. Good job, Izuku. I grin, tired down to where dirt lives in the fingerprints. Thanks. Also, you made a deal with a snake. I know, I say. She'll bite the right target if we hold her head just so. Bakugo snorts. Hate this. Love this. Hate that I love this. Welcome to leadership, I say. He flips me off without heat and goes to stare down the timer like it cursed his favorite alley. Jiro touches her new stamp to her wrist and watches her name flash under her skin in a way no camera will register. She smiles, tiny and sharp. Promise me something. Dangerous, I warn. Keep this school noisy, she says. Easy, I say. We've got 2 hours to invent the loudest choir in Japan. Good, she says, squeezes my sleeve once, and goes to bully the PA into losing its fear of feedback. Momo takes All Might's hand and inks Toshinori on his wrist like a teenager at a concert who decided to be a scientist. He blinks at the glow, then closes his eyes and breathes like he's finally home. When he opens them, he looks 10 pounds lighter in the soul. Outside, the city stirs. Phones light. Group texts collide. Old women in slippers share voice notes of lullabies. Teenagers practice chanting in stairwells. A bus driver wipes his hands and checks his watch. The ramen man tightens his apron like going to work as a weapon. The audit timer ticks and pretends it's not impressed. We move. When we come back up into the light, the arch over the gate reads UA like it never forgot how. The list of student names on the bulletin board is intact, +3 no one would have remembered if the song had eaten them. I don't know who put those back. I don't need to. Cyan-G stands near the gate on the phone, face cool, voice calm, telling a mayor how to sell a choir. She catches my eye, doesn't nod, then does. Almost not at all. A private treaty in an ugly war. The timer hangs over the quad, clean and rude, 1 hour 49 minutes and 12 seconds. Tick-tock, Bakugo mutters. Let's make it sing, I say. He grins like a grenade you want on your side. We split. Jiro to the sound, Momo to the stamps and the trucks in 100 tiny circuits, Todoroki to the vents and the pressure, All Might to the Peo. PLE who forgot they were allowed to be loud, Aizawa to glower anyone who tries to turn this into theater. I head for the roofline with a pocketful of names and a veil humming at my back. Above us, the sky pretends to be unbothered. 2 hours, I tell it. Then we edit you. The sky doesn't answer. Not yet. Chapter 6 end. Chapter 7. Reboot the heavens. The audit timer hits 0 hours 0 minutes and 10 seconds while I'm elbow deep in cable ties on the UA. Roof. Positions, I say into the campus channel. Momo bullied awake. Choir ready. Jiro answers with one note that makes the stadium lights nod. All Might. Yes. Todoroki. Air stable. Pressure rails are green. Bakugo. I'm bored. Make God show up. Careful. Rafa murmurs. When you talk like that, the universe hands you an RSVP. 0 hours 0 minutes and 5 seconds. Across Musudafu, stamp-inked wrists glow and fade like fireflies, names tied to the identity lock. Grandmothers at apartment windows hum lullabies into cheap phones. The ramen man tightens his apron and leads tea. Re-cooks in a chant that started as, order up, and became a prayer that refuses to be meek. A bus driver idles at a red, opens both doors, and lets his passengers yell for whoever they miss most. ING stands at the gate with a city council mic and absolutely no need to use it. She's good at theater. Today she looks like logistics. I'll take it. 0 hours 0 minutes and 3 seconds. Rafa. I breathe, palming the lig. HTER-sized transceiver Momo built to piggyback the PA. Any last-minute patch notes? Don't die. Borrow loud. Convert everything. Simple. 0 hours 0 minutes and 1 second. The sky opens like a circuit board. Not clouds. Tracks. Gold rails snap into a grid overhead. Lines of characters scroll like a quiet sermon. They spell out the story where I don't belong. He arrives with neat courtesy. A tall figure in a classic suit, hair the color of older paper. Eyes that hold exact pity. No wings. No halo. Just calm. The air around him selects a temperature you'd call meeting room neutral. Eon Valis, he says as if answering my question before I ask. No echo. Never needs one. Root Auditor. Thank you for attending. I didn't RSVP. You forked a permitted path. He looks almost regretful. Consensual deletion. Preserves more futures than your variants. I roll my wrists and keep my voice steady. You really made a god out of a spreadsheet. Precision is kindness, he says, like he practiced that line. Bakugo lands beside me on the roof edge. Hands taped, ready to be the worst idea and the best friend. Todoroki steps up on my other side. His breath makes a thin fog between heat and cold that hums like a string under a bow. Jiro stands by the PA with a coil of cable around her shoulder like jewelry. Momo checks the stampers at the gate, presses one to Sanji's wrist. Sanji doesn't flinch when Akina burns soft under her skin. Valis considers our little lineup with gentle disdain. This will be public. That was your intent, he adds for the record. Yeah, I say, we do better when people can see themselves. He tilts his head. I offer amnesty on deletion. You will not feel it. You will not mourn. I prefer my feelings loud, I say. And my mourning honest. He sighs the way NCIPALS sigh at children who skateboard in hallways. Then he lifts a hand. The city stops. Not just people. Assumptions. The open signs go unsure. The river reconsiders flow. Every reflection finds the version of Musudafu that is predictable and chooses it. Rollback. Rafa says, steady. Large scale. We can resist 3 breaths. Maybe 5 if the choir holds. Choir. I ask, not looking away from Valis. Jiro's voice hits the district like truth with a beat. Names. It's messy. Beautiful. 1,000 voices get it wrong together and strengthen because of it. The guardian veil over the anchor shivers and sets. I push Mirabreak with both palms up, and send it down the network of voices, not into glass. The reflection layer in the sky gridlines crack, not destroyed, just made embarrassing. Valis doesn't blink. Admirable. Inefficient. He points, and a beam of rule light drops toward me like a form letter with teeth. I meet it with a hand braced to my own wrist. Not force. Refusal. The beam skews into Momo's coil in the quad. She slides a switch. The hum eats it, graceful. Again. Bakugo yells, scattering precise, tiny detonations around the roof. My blast silence field D. Rinks their ignition swirl and packs it into a tight boring hole of no flame here, carving a calm column we can plan inside. Valis's voice softens. This is not cruelty, Midoriya. There are populatio NS that never see year's end if I do not intervene. Your fork reduces the stability of more than this street. I almost believe the sorrow in him. I hate that I can see the shape of his kindness. Show your math, I say. Public calculation. Every life tallied with consent. Consent is inefficient. Then your math is a lie. The rails above us flash. Root purge, T300s. 5 minutes until he reboots us into his pretty patterned world. Rafa, I say, you know the next step. A smile in her code voice. Stop being a pair of hands and become what you built by accident. I swallow. Now, you promised Jiro you'd keep this school noisy. Let me help you keep it alive. I open my hands and stop treating Rafa like an app in my head. Protocol, I whisper. Not weapon. Exactly. Her tone lands in my bones. Root harm right pointing arrow capacity. Root fear right pointing arrow choice. Convert control right pointing arrow consent. Reject labels unless we asked for them. Wrap everything in people. The choir stumbles, then swells. All mights. Yes. Anchors the lowest note. I take the heat from Bakugo's pops, the pressure from Todoroki's rails, Momo's clean hum, Jiro's pitch, Sanji's hard-won logistics, the ramen man's laugh, the bus driver's stubborn schedule. The kid in the yellow raincoats giggle from 3 chapters ago, and fuse them. Rafa Prime. I name, steady. Go. Everything sharpens. Not into edges, into roots. The ledgers above us stop being a ceiling and turn into plumbing. Valis lifts a brow. Ah, he says. You made a governance layer. Made it out of people, I say. He lowers his hand. The purge timer ticks. 1 demonstration. Then deletion. Quote. You first, I say. He swipes the air. A light lattice spears toward the anchor below the USJ slab. It isn't raw force, policy. If it sticks, the veil will be repurposed into a compliance membrane. I punch Rafa Prime into the line. It devours the attempt like compost and spits out fertilizer. The policy shivers and becomes a permission, by consent only. Valis's eyes narrow a degree. He steps forward. This operation is unsupervised. Good, I say. Watch. He abandons decorum. The gold tracks dump rules by the hundreds, noise ordinances for time, zoning for grief. Parking tickets for miracles. The sky rains bureaucracy at a speed nobody can read and everyone feels. The choir falters under the paperwork storm, then surges back angrier and funnier. Jiro starts clapping wrong on purpose, everyone follows. The city's rhythm goes anti-4 quarters and the ledgers choke because they can't find an even division. Genius. I ride the beat and push. You can. Call it a blast. A policy audit back up the rail. Mirabreak cracks his premise. The rollback resist keeps my head clear for 4 breaths and a 5th I steal from Todoroki's calm. I send the result straight at Valis's chest. He sees it. He almost smiles. He doesn't move. It hits. His suit ripples and turns into a flexible amphitheater of screens stacked into his ribs. In them, scenes of UNSP. EA cable panic not happening because he rebooted a region on a bad day. Kids saved by erasing a brave idiot's attempt at help. Floods reversed. Fires unfired. Do you prefer those outcomes? He asks. And for a fraction I hate that the answer is messy. We prefer consent, I say. And messy witnesses. He nods once, as if I just failed an exam he knew I'd fail. Permits are not votes, Midoriya. You are charming. Your charm does not scale. I don't scale, I say. I spread my arms while Rafa threads me into a million tiny channels. We scale. Cyan-G makes a call I didn't expect. She patches the city's civic disaster line into Jiro's feed and lets people phone in names like crowd-sourced shields. The operator on the other end cries quietly while she routes them. Good. Root purge. T120s. Valis raises both hands now. The grid spills meta ink down every reflective surface. The mirror city rushes back, complete this time, faster than Mirabreak can embarrass it. Bigger. Bakugo shouts, reading the field like it's a fight he can't punch. Deku, you gotta make the break boring so it sticks. I bark a laugh. Copy. I stop aiming at spectacle. I shove Mirabreak as a constant, low grade. Embarrassing hum into every phone screen tuned to us. All Might grins on instinct like he sees the trick and adds his dumbest thumbs up to one camera. The overlay blushes and misaligns itself. It hates cringe. Incredible. Todoroki leans into me, voice low. Take my rails. I steal the pressure lines he's knitting and lace them through Rafa Prime. The protocol drinks them and return. NS routes to him labeled with who needs space. Old people first, then kids, then the angry men who finally want to help. Jiro hears a seam open in the sky audio and hits it with a pure tone that makes my teeth ache and my heart grin. Momo and 2 first years wheel out a second coil she built in 13 minutes with a frown and a prayer, portable consent on a cart. She stamps 3 grandmothers and DA hawkers vend permit like she's crowning queens. The purge timer hits T60s. Valis stops performing. His face becomes the blank that does math. Enough. He drops a root command. Not a beam. A sentence. Delete. Midoriya _Izuku _fork. It writes across the sky in letters only my soul can see. It is calm and final. I can feel the part of the world that's soft to me, my thread, start to unspool. Now, Rafa says, quiet. Audit the auditor. I look up and smile at a god who thinks he has the only clipboard in the room. Show your work. It leaves my throat like a court order and hits the lead. Jeer above with the weight of a million petty bureaucrats who love to stamp too much. Rafa Prime fans it into every ear that will listen. Phones translate. Loudspeakers echo. The ramen man yells it like he's calling a ticket. Show your work. Denied. Valis says. Jiro laughs. Dangerous. Oh, we're doing denials. Here's one. We refuse. 1,000 voices. We refuse. The ledger hesitates. Cyan-G sees the choice slice open. She steps into the camera frame she swore she didn't need. Open records now. She says live, voice clear as a legal knife. Or the commission joins the city in suit against Root for extrajudicial deletion. Valis looks almost amused. Leverage. Consent. She corrects. The rails above shiver. Tabs unfold. Cases, metrics, deletions saved, deletions harmed. Numbers fill in. Names. Street corners. Seasons. He isn't lying. He saved too many to dismiss. He harmed enough to never forget. All might steps to my shoulder. We can do both, he says to the air. Stability and soul. We were lazy. We won't be. The timer hits T30s. Valis studies the room like a chessboard. Then he asks, gentle, unforgivable, if I place the ledger in human hands, will you consent to your deletion? Nice try, I say. Keep the ledger public. Remove unconsented purges. Require consent for all forks. Create an appeals council with members who don't worship efficiency. Composition, Valis says, because everything with him is a form. All might, I say. He raises a hand, a little startled, then sure. Nezu, I add. The rodent bows, thrilled to be useful in a way no one can prove later. Cyan-G, without the chair, I say. She accepts the cut with a flicker of relief she hides. Ramen man, bus driver, a nurse, a janitor, 2 students chosen by lottery every season. And you, Valis says. No, I say, conflict of interest. You keep trying to kill me, I'll keep returning the favor. I'll testify, not tally. He weighs it. He is good at weighing. The purge timer hits T10s and I can feel the city hold a single shared breath. The grid hums. Cherub X materializes half seen on a lamppost, clipboard crooked like shame. Valis lowers his hands. Conditional acceptance. Audit council convenes now. Your fork stays by consent. If you break more people than you save, you come to me. By consent, I say. He looks at the choir, at the kids, at a bus with its doors open. At a glowing wrist that says Toshinori in cheap blue. He looks at me last. By consent, he repeats, as if the phrase tastes new and he isn't sure if he likes it. The purge timer freezes at TO1s. All the screens in the grid overwrite. Policy update. Audits require consent. Then, council installed. Public ledger enabled. The rails fold back into sky. The city exhales like it just found a chair. 1,000 tiny arguments start in stairwells. Good. Valis stands in the afterlight. His suit is immaculate again. His eyes are still a bureaucrat's, which means he will always be dangerous and sometimes helpful. You will hate me again, he says, polite. Probably tonight, I say. He nods like we shook on it and flickers out. Cherub X lingers. It raises a corner of its clipboard toward me, a tiny, almost human salute, and dissolves along the lamppost. Silence. Then noise. Not a roar. A messy, wonderful flood of talking. Grandmothers arguing about shift rotations for the choir. Kids bragging they were loudest. Someone starts a chant in the wrong key and nobody cares. The ramen man posts a hand-lettered sign. Ledger noodles half price and tells a camera he always liked audits. Bakugo drops to the quad and glares at the air that hurt him once and didn't get to today. We done, he demands. For the hour, I say. For the day, if we're lucky. He looks relieved. Furious about being relieved. Then sticks his hand out. I slap it. He pulls me into a hug that's more shoulder check than embrace. I grunt. He smirks. We're idiots, it's perfect. Todoroki leans on the gate. ND watches Cyan-G take off her commission pin without making a speech. She hands it to an aide with a perfectly neutral face and then, only then, touches the stamp on her wrist like she's testing a new word for herself. Jiro finds me before the crowd swallows us and rests her forehead to mine for a whipped cream light 3 seconds. Keep this school noisy, she says. Promise, I whisper, and the word doesn't taste reckless anymore. It tastes correct. Momo arrives like a storm that finished its homework. Her cheeks are bright, her hair a mess that looks like decisions. She folds a spare coil into my hand. For next time, she says. There's always a next time, I say. I mean it like a comfort, not a threat. She bites her lip, then lets herself be honest. Good. I like building with you. I don't have a good joke. I smile so hard my face creaks. Uraraka hovers at the edge. She's been pulling people out of patterns all morning, and it shows in the set of her shoulders. She steps up, not sure if she should. Then does it anyway. Hey, she says. I didn't set a trap today. I noticed. I want to be a person who doesn't, she says, eyes wet. You already are, I say. You were just busy proving it. She laughs, wrecked and relieved and young. Jiro threads her fingers through Uraraka's and squeezes once like an accusation resolved. Momo's smile turns into a plan, which is her version of happy. All Might approaches and holds up his wrist like a kid with a stamp leaving a fair. Toshinori shines faintly there. I never thought I'd like bureaucracy, he confides. You made it need me. We made it need us. I say, and he nods like that's the right shape of everything. Cyan-Ji walks over without her convoy. She looks better without it. The council will need bylaws, she says, because of course. And then, thank you for not insisting, I beg. You wouldn't, I say. You'd negotiate with a meteor. She almost smiles. I'll send the city charter boilerplate. Send it to Nezu, I say. He'll hide jokes in it. She snorts. He already did. Nezu, from 20 feet away, allegedly. The first phone notification from the public ledger pings. Audit request number 001 filed by Ramen Guy 57 feet. Put noodles in budget. The council queue accepts it with a ding that makes 3 children cheer. Rafa rests in the space behind my eyes like a hammock. Status, she says, pleased. Ledger public. Council populated. Deletions now require consent or emergency supermajority with on-record justifications and sunset clauses. Cherub X demoted to courier. Valis. Thinking. Hungry. I ask her. Always. I pat my pocket for money and a note Bakugo gave me burns my hip like a little vote of confidence. The city smells like steam and electric relief. People keep saying names, soft and laughing. Like they're practicing. Food run. Jiro asks. Food run. Momo declares. Food run. Bakugo groans, because saying it means we might set down our armor for 15 minutes and that's terrifying. We drift toward the ramen stall because we've earned the right to be corny. The ramen man sees us and doesn't make a speech. He just taps the counter twice like a judge and sets 5 bowls like a benediction. As I sit, the bus driver from yesterday idles at the curb, honks twice, and taps his watch. On time. Always. I lift my chopsticks. My hands shake exactly as much as a human's hands should after dodging a polite apocalypse. I let them. Jiro nudges my knee under the counter. You good? I nudge back. Momo tops off my water without asking. Uraraka steals one of Bakugo's eggs and lives. Todoroki takes a photo of the Toshinori stamp for a memory file he will never share. Above us, the ledger writes one more line nobody sees but everyone feels. Audits. By consent only. I breathe. I eat. I laugh when Bakugo calls the noodles weak and then inhales them like a vacuum. I watch the city be complicated and alive. And when the light catches the office windows and tries for the mirror trick. Mirabreak hums a small no without me having to lift a hand. The world's editor keeps its pen, but we own the margins now. I pay. I leave too much. The ramen man pretends not to notice. He wipes the counter like a ritual. We step back into a day that didn't end with a clean cut, just an agreement to keep talking. I like that. Chapter 7 end.